Yes. So those.
Okay. I'm going to call to order this meeting of the Town Council of the Santan Valley. I'm going to ask for a roll call from our clerk.
Councilmember Hunt,
Present.
Councilmember Jenkins,
Present.
Councilmember Oaks,
Here.
Councilmember Tyler, present, Councilmember Wolfert, present, Vice Mayor Hudgens, present, Mayor Seth.
Present.
There's a quorum.
Okay, thank you, Garrett. Okay, we're going to have a pledge of allegiance. I've asked Councilmember Hunt to lead us in that, following which we were going to have a invocation by Brian Pacheco from Flatiron Church. Councilmember Hunt.
Please follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, if you guys would bow your heads. Lord Jesus, we are grateful to gather this evening. Lord, we ask for your wisdom and insight. We ask for you to shape and mold the minds here that we may better serve and love this community. Lord, we look at your life and how you poured it out on the cross for us, and we're grateful and we're filled with that gratitude. I ask that that would shape and sharpen us this evening. And Lord, we do it for your name and in your glory. Amen.
Amen. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. Okay, this will take us to item number 4. This is approval of minutes, discussion, and possible action to approve meeting minutes from our February 4, 2026 regular town council meeting. Is there any discussion? Any questions about the minutes? Okay, hearing none. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from our February 4th, 2026 council meeting?
Mayor, I move that we approve the minutes from the February 4th meeting.
Okay, we do have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve our meeting minutes from February 4th, 2026. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Minutes are approved. Okay, this will take us now to our mayor and council reports, a summary of current events. It's only for discussion, information purposes only, not for discussion or deliberation, or that we'll take any legal action on it. And so we'll go down the line. Usually Councilmember Hunt's on the end, but why don't we start with Councilmember Oaks?
I don't have anything.
Okay, Councilmember Jenkins.
I do. I was able to attend the battery storage, the Copper Basin battery storage information. And they're in barely the beginning stages, but it's going to be a 5-year project for the battery storage. And I had all my questions answered. And I feel good about that project. And I do live in a neighborhood with quite a bit of electric going down on me. So it's nice to see that, you know, we're doing something for the grid and it's safe. Another thing I did was I went and did a cleanup on Hunt Highway with Neil Carter and his group. So that was very neat to serve in that capacity. So that's what I've done. Thanks.
Councilmember Hunt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a reminder, brought this up a few weeks ago. I just wanted to remind the public that Pinal County will be doing the intern program again this year. So anyone in the Pinal County that has a high school or college student that might be interested in doing a 7-week paid intern, applications are going to be, I think, next month. And the program runs towards I think the interviews will be in May and start in, or interviews in April and start in May sometime. I can't remember all the details offhand, but I just want to remind you, watch for that. It's a good program. I've been part of that, helping to plan that. So it's going to happen this year.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Tyler.
Councilmember Wolfert. Just two quick things. Recently I had the great fortune to come across some of our local Santan Valley food vendors. One at the Walmart Super Bowl party, a guy with a big wiener hat, Santan hot dogs. So again, I had the pleasure to try Santan hot dogs. So again, at the Santan Valley Farmers Market this last Saturday, again, just really want to put out there the work that Carrie and her crew are doing, the great fundraising they're doing for some of the local, events that are out there. So again, came across Cozy Bee. An event that's coming up, the American Legion Post 97 will be having a fishing derby on Saturday, March 7th. There are tickets still available. Great event, help sponsor Americanism in our youth. Aside from that, so.
Vice Mayor Hudgens.
The mayor and I and the town manager had the opportunity to attend a gala for Compassion Connect, which is an organization that's really meeting the needs of a lot of the gaps of services that are in Santan Valley. And so they had I think it's their annual fundraiser. It's amazing to see the number of businesses and individuals that are really supporting that organization and the amount of work that they've put into it. And so that was fantastic. And then also Gilbert, Tempe, Chandler, and Mesa are all partnering in a similar way to assist the most vulnerable. They have an event coming up where the homeless and all other people who are in a vulnerable position in their communities, they're partnering together as 4 communities to help address some of those needs. So I look forward to as we are getting our legs underneath us, that we can start to engage with some of the municipalities around us, and particularly in Santan Valley, where we have a major service gap where we need to lean into. So that was encouraging.
Great, thank you. Yeah, that was a good evening for the gala that we were at. It did get a little tendered there, hearing about how many people step up and help other people when they're in need. And that was a great opportunity for us to be a part of that. I just have one item on March 7th at Poston View High School, just down the road here. Compassion Queen Creek will be at Poston View High School. And it's a opportunity for those who need some service that they can't afford, whether it be dental, medical, vision. There's a whole list of things. If you go to compassionconnect.com, you can get more information. They're always looking for volunteers. So if there's anyone in the community that would like to help out with them, that would be a great opportunity. March 7th, I believe the time, I'm not sure about the time, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. So March 7th. Okay, that's all I have. We'll move on to item number 6. This is the town manager report. The town manager is going to report on some current events and pending legislation and introduce some new members to us, I believe. And this is only for information only, and the council will not propose, discuss, deliberate, or take any legal action on information as presented. Brent.
All right, and hopefully everybody can hear me. I'm pretty loud. I don't have a problem with that. The first item that I have for this evening, I'd like to ask an individual to come forward. His name is Gabriel Garcia. Where are you at, Gabe? Gabe had his contract approved at the last regularly scheduled council meeting and will be our new finance director. Gabe, you have a few words you would like to say?
First off, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council, just glad to be here. I think I was number 3 is what Brent was telling me. So that'll reign forever, I guess. I look forward to the challenge of becoming your finance director. It's exciting. I have over 17 years of municipal finance experience, and I look forward to being here. So, and I open my door anytime you guys have any questions or need anything. I'm always here. Transparency is obviously key in financial reporting, and anything I can do to help you guys out, I'm here.
Thank you, Gabe. Next is a few events to report. We have scheduled a ribbon cutting for our new offices, which are right on the other side of this wall, through the glass doors over there. That event will be March the 4th at 5 p.m. in this room. So be there or be square. You'll get a spectacular tour of our 7 cubicles. Tomorrow, very important, there is a special council meeting tomorrow evening in this room at 6 p.m. It will be to discuss transaction privilege taxes in Arizona, as well as an interim budget for the town. So if you're really into finances and financing, be here tomorrow night. February 25th. I mentioned this at the last two meetings. We will be hosting a community visioning meeting at CAC, just west of here, 6 p.m. Come out, join us. There'll be a lot of information to be shared. There's flyers for these events up front if you didn't get a chance to grab one. But that will be our first ever community visioning meeting. And we think that a lot of folks are going to come and attend, and it's going to be an exciting event. A lot of information to be shared. March 26th, Pinal Partnership is looking to schedule a meeting in Santan Valley for their Emerging Leaders Group. I know that when I sent this out to council, there's a lot of interest from council members going and participating in that. They would also like the town staff to be there. I just talked to Mike from Lucid Motors before I walked in here this evening, and sounds like it's going to be a nice event. They do need our help finding a venue. So I said I would talk to the mayor about potential at Schneff Farms. It sounds like that's where they would like to be. I also offered this room, if in fact we can get this room scheduled. That's an evening event, I believe, from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. Next one is the Santan Valley Spring Festival. I have never personally attended, but I've heard it's a great event. The town was invited to participate in that event. Send it out to the council members. There's also a lot of interest in that event as well. That's on April the 3rd at Combs School on their fields, apparently. The last event that I have is we were lucky enough to receive an invitation, meaning the town council and myself, to do a factory tour of the Lucid plant in Casa Grande. So we now have a date. That's March the 13th. So Garrett will need to make sure that we post that, because I think that we'll likely have a quorum. No business will take place. It's just a tour of the plant. In terms of the legislative update, I've got a number of bills here. I'll go through them fairly quickly, and this is for information purposes only. Everyone's very familiar with the three different bills regarding excise tax in Pinal County and refunding those funds. They're in various stages of approval, but on Monday there was a striker proposed for House Bill 2273. In case you don't know, that's House Bill 2106, House Bill 2273, and House Bill 2304. House Bill 2273 was the one that had the project lists, if you guys recall. Striker took place, and the new bill is to reimburse all the taxpayers of Pinal County with those remaining funds. So send it back to individual taxpayers. Next week is what they call Hell Week. That's when the House bills go to the Senate and the Senate bills go to the House. So these next 2 weeks are very busy at the legislature. The good news is we'll have a lot better idea of which bills are going to go forward and which ones won't after next week. The next bill I have to mention is House Bill 2588. That's called the Municipalities Design Prohibition Bill. That would limit our ability as part of some of our planning review on cases, including preliminary plats and site plans, to do a review regarding design prohibition or design items. What might that be? One of the primary concerns is perimeter walls and how those walls are built and where they're located. Also impacts to flood control through subdivisions as part of stipulations on cases. So keep that one in mind. The next one is Senate Bill 1566, which is called the Malicious Delay Bill. So there's a bill out there that is very general in nature at this point, but essentially puts a $5,000 fine on any city, town, or county as part of a review of permits, licenses, approvals, if it's determined that there was malicious delay. But nobody really explains what that is or provides a time frame in terms of how much delay. So keep an eye on that one. House Bill 2290 is TPT sourcing. This is very controversial, and is something that the League of Cities and Towns is very much working on. Essentially, what that would be, as it stands now in the tax code, if Harvey buys, Harvey's in the front row here, so I'm just calling him out. If Harvey buys something on Amazon, Harvey's taxes go assigned to where he lives, the jurisdiction where he lives. This bill would reassign those taxes collected to the areas that have distribution centers where the orders are fulfilled. So the cities that have big Google, Walmart, Tractor Supply, sourcing facilities, they would get all the taxes instead of the local entities where the purchases are taking place. House Bill 2999. That's called the Infrastructure Financing District Bill. I talked about it at our last meeting as well. I think everybody understands that we already have the ability to finance infrastructure through community facilities districts or CFDs. This bill would create a state financing authority and the ability to create what's called an infrastructure financing district. There are multiple challenges with that, but it's definitely a break of local control. We would no longer have say. If you have a CFD, your council is the members of the CFD board. Your council approves and advertises for all reimbursements and contracts on that work for reimbursements. That would all be taken away from city, town, and county governments in Arizona and governed by a straight board, a state board. What other impacts could it have? It might take away our ability to use development impact fees for development to pay its own way. If this district was utilized, then we would not be able to charge development impact fees. These types of districts, for any of you that don't know, reimburse the developer for building all the improvements for the subdivision. Could be parks, could be streets, could be street lights, all of those things paid by the developer up front, and then your taxes pay to reimburse the developer over a 20 or a 30-year time frame. So when I was in Florence, we ended up in a situation where one part of our community, the Anthem community, and some of you may live in Anthem, they pay 3 times as many taxes as the other residents of Florence. This is just another level of taxing district, but our local council wouldn't have a say in it. The other concern that the league has on this bill is if it were to go broke, the district, all the responsibility would fall on the local government. So it would fall on Santan Valley if one of these districts dissolved. So very important bill. For the council members, if you haven't sent in your strategic planning packet, please send that in to me. Yesterday, I'm happy to say, and there's a number of folks here all sit in this general vicinity, we kicked off our IPAC yesterday afternoon. All 7 members were present. I've been quizzing them in terms of the quality of the training and what they got out of it, and it sounds like it was a good training. They enjoyed it. They learned a lot. Pinal County has a planning and zoning meeting this Thursday. There's one case for Santan Valley. So we will be scheduling an IPAC meeting for, it looks like, next Thursday or Friday to have our first official business, and they will elect officers at that meeting as well. So thank you so much to the council, hitting the ground running, making your appointments, approving the resolution to allow us to facilitate this process. And the excitement is we're going to kick it off next week, and they're excited. The last item I have is we have 2 other folks in the audience that are, I guess, employees 4 and 5. If you'd like to stand, they have items on the agenda, but I thought I'd give them a chance to stand. That would be Robert Stanley, IT Director, and Janet Dayer, HR. That's all I had.
We are glad to have our numbers increasing up to 5 now. Remember your number because it is unprecedented to be at this level, at this municipality, and being one of the first ones to help take part of that. Brent remembers his first number with Maricopa. So when that one event, when they're asking for staff to be there, how many are we going to have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
Who knows? I'm not going to venture a guess. We'll see.
And I'll try to make a call for the farm. I know somebody there. Okay, we'll see, but let me know. Okay, this is gonna take us to item number 7. This will be business before the council. We're gonna go to 7A. This is Pinal County Sheriff's Office. It's a Santan Valley Operations Overview for us. It's a presentation for the law enforcement operations in this area, including call volume, response data, crime trends, traffic enforcement statistics, geographic deployment analysis, and staffing considerations. And this is going to be for information only. We will not take any action on anything that is said. So at this point, we are going to turn it over to Sheriff People. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you.
There it goes.
They work.
And I just want to say, I guess the county attorney is also speaking tonight. Thank you for having me before him because he's a hard act to follow. He's a great public speaker. Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, Santan Valleyans, thanks for having us here today. I do have a lot of slides to get through, and so once the slides are rolling, if you have any questions whatsoever, please stop me and I can answer any questions. And if I can't, I have my expert in the back row. If you notice on the first slide, it says prepared by Hunter Jones, Senior Crime Analyst. He is way smarter than I am, and he's here to help me with the statistics and any questions that you may have. I did want to say, because I spoke to several audience members before this started, and one question that a lot of Santan Valleyans want to know is when is the contract going to be signed? What is the policing services going to cost the city of Santan Valley? And quite honestly, guys, we're not even close to coming up with that number right now. We will, of course, continue to provide you with policing services, but what we did was, so it's fair and equitable to all of the taxpayers, is we went to an outside entity, a private company that does this sort of thing, and they're figuring out the numbers it's going to cost, because it's real easy to say, these are the 29 deputies, patrol deputies, sergeants, and the lieutenant that are assigned to Santan Valley. So a lot of people at face value say, well, how much is it going to cost us for those 29 deputies? But understand, this isn't all the law enforcement professionals that service this area. If you walk next door, and love to give you a tour, anyone if ever wanted to, you can see the detectives that are over there that aren't on this roster. Those detectives do follow-up cases for them and get convictions. You have your traffic enforcement unit next door, and I'm sure you guys want traffic enforcement, especially on Hunt and Bella Vista. But we'll get to that later on the slide. But those are the type of things. And then you have to think about the fact that it's not just the deputies, it's the insurance that the county pays for the deputies. It's the fleet maintenance worker that works on the vehicle. It's the vehicle that's purchased. It's the calls for service. We already provide dispatching services for towns like Superior and Mammoth and Central Arizona Police. And we have those calculations. We provided this entity with those calculations, and it shows every time we dispatch a call for service for a city, this is what it cost the sheriff's office to do that. And so they're still compiling all them numbers. We had some discussions. Absolutely, we can move forward with signing an IGA saying that if you guys want to contract out with us, and then we can speak later about, because there's going to be needs that you council members and you Santan Valleyans want of the sheriff's office. And there's going to be suggestions that I'm going to provide you. And there's going to be cold hard facts about it. I will tell you, I went to one meeting that we were talking about incorporating, and there was an individual there that was representing an organization, and he was saying that as soon as you incorporate, you're going to have national standards of city policing as far as number of police towards number of residents in the area. And if you guys, it's kind of an unrealistic number. Most law enforcement professionals say that that's not valid anymore, but the International Association of Chiefs of Police years ago did a study, and they said that on average, you have to have 2 law enforcement officers for every 10,000 residents. So if you use that, that would say that you would need 2,000 or 200 certified peace officers for Santan Valley to reach that study standards. Folks, I have 253 sworn for the entire state of Connecticut. So that's not realistic. That's why there's 29 here plus some detectives and stuff. So that's what we're going to start off with, but I want to have long-term discussions with the city council and the Santan Valleyans about where you want to get to. One of the suggestions that I'm proffering today and just getting the bug in your ear is the fact that I think it would be very beneficial if you guys agreed to hire a deputy chief that's over Santan Valley. So that would be your chief of police. We've already moved towards Santan Valley incorporation before you got actually voted to incorporate. We have a region now. Adam Region used to be vastly different than what it is now. Adam Region right now, the Lieutenant over Adam Region, Benedict, Adam Region is the incorporated city limits of Santan Valley. So that's what we're talking about now. These beats are the incorporated city of Santan Valley once it incorporates. That's Adam Region. So I wanted to go through the slides that we had today. And Garrett said this works. So first thing is Santan Valley operational overview. I want to point out that all data is based on current proposed Santan Valley Incorporated area unless otherwise noted. There's some generalities about law enforcement and about Pinal County as a whole, but we tried to provide as much statistics as possible that directly relate to Santan Valley, the incorporated city. Now, for Santan Valley, as you guys can see, you are on a gentle increase in total historical volumes of service since 2020. With one abnormality, 2024, it dropped a little bit, but for 2025, there were 36,055 total calls for service for the Santan Valley area. That's a lot of calls, guys, for the number of deputies that are here. And that's why if sometimes a deputy tells you I have to go, I have calls holding, that's what he's referring to there. And I wanted to talk about the specific calls because that is something that my entire law enforcement career, I've had the public ask me, well, what type of calls, what does the law enforcement actually do besides write tickets? Literally, that's something that I've had people ask. And so we have 4 main priority calls for service. A priority 1 call is a life-threatening call requiring nearly an hour of dedicated use. So priority 1 call is you're calling up because your kid fell into the pool and they're not breathing. It's a life-threatening call for that. If they haven't been breathing for a while, they've been underneath there, we upgrade that to a priority H call. That's a hot call. And you'll notice that a priority H call and a priority 1 call both take over an hour to process from the time the deputy gets there and deals with the situation. And priority 2 calls, those are urgent in progress crimes. That's that is like someone just shoplift a felony amount of goods from Walmart. Something of those levels. That's a priority 2 urgent call. They take about on average 55 minutes for the responding deputy to work that scene. And then priority 8 or 3 calls are standard calls for service. Juvenile disturbance, my neighbor's playing the music too loud. What we call a 415 NORA, which is a neighbor dispute, that actually takes up the majority. That actually skews that to statistic because let's be honest, folks, most neighbors love to argue with each other, the ones that we get sent to. So we have to take an enormous amount of time for those. And the big takeaway I would like everyone to get from this is high priority calls are not quick fixes. They're prolonged events that drain staffing levels immediately. Operational times. Note this data includes all response times, including outside of Santan Valley. So this is for the county. Just there was, and as far as this goes, the pre-route dispatch lag is 10 minutes and 68 seconds. That's how long it takes. And that's the average time before a call sits in queue and when it's assigned and then a unit's available for it. So on average, that's by national standards, that's pretty good. You can go to some cities up in the valley and the average call bit lag time is about an hour. I have a friend of mine that works for Tempe PD and he says every day when he checks on duty, he has 6 calls for service waiting for him. So that's what they're talking about there. The calls just pile up. So at 10 minutes, 68 seconds, it seems like a long time, but that's all calls. So that's your priority 4 calls. There's a cow in the roadway up to priority 8 calls. And travel time is 5.56 minutes. That's the average en route time it takes for one of my deputies to get on scene in all of Pinal County, all calls for service. Time on scene, average duration that a deputy in Pinal County spends on average calls for service is 25 minutes, 57 seconds. And
Yes, if there's the wrong one up there, I spelled it correctly.
it's officer shooting, not the But we fixed that, but we got to set the previous PowerPoint where it's at. But these are the, and that's put a little levity on a very serious situation. These are the call types that take the most time spent on scene. Obviously, if an officer involves shooting, you're talking a day. We're going to be there for a day for that. Inmate death, that's inside our jail. A lot of people don't know this about the Supreme Court made a ruling years ago called custodial caretaker doctrine. And what that means is once a law enforcement entity takes custody of an individual, we're responsible for their life, whether they take their own life or not, whether they take an excess amount of illegal drugs before they're booked into jail and they show no signs of any drug overdose, and then we put them in a cell and they fall asleep and they never wake back up. That's our responsibility. We have a custodial caretaker responsibility for that. So that's why those calls for service inmate deaths are so high, is because we investigate it forward. And a search warrant, obviously that's going to take a while. You got to secure the scene. You got to write up to the descriptors, the curtilage of the house, and then contact the judge and get the judge to issue the search warrant if he does, and then serving that search warrant. And then the bread and butter of my SWAT team or SWAT calls are barricaded subjects. That is the number one thing. If we respond to, say, a domestic violence call and the wife says that the husband ran back inside the house and there's nothing but weapons inside the house, that becomes a barricaded subject. So that's going to be the SWAT team with the Bearcat negotiators there. We would make every attempt possible to leave the situation as peaceful as possible and then return back. But those are your highest calls for service. Top 10 criminal offenses, ARS codes from 2015 to 2025. These are the top 3. And Hunters, is this for all of Pinal County or Santan Valley? I can't remember. I think it's Santan Valley. That's what I thought. I just want to make sure. Number 1 is disorderly conduct. It's 2,122 incidences of fighting, violent behavior, or seriously disruptive conduct. That is the most common catch-all charge for public disturbances. If you speed in Arizona, it's 28,701, and cops call 29 or 132904. The 2971 of criminal codes is disorderly conduct. It's the one that they charge the most on. Disorderly conduct can be anything from an individual causing you to react in a physical manner, or someone yelling to the point that it's disturbing a business and the business calls us up and say, we want that person to charge for interrupting the regular business of this. Criminal damage is another one. I will tell you guys, the criminal damage is a current trend with juvenile problems, and this is countrywide as far as criminal damage goes. And then assault, simple assault. Intentionally or recklessly causing physical injury. This is the primary violent crime statistic for your region. One thing that for people that move from another state, Arizona doesn't have battery. Assault is battery here. The way I try to explain that to people, because we will get calls where people say, well, he committed assault and battery, and then they get mad because we didn't charge him for battery. And legally, battery is assault. And so there's not 2 separate charges. Assault is what you get charged for. Aggravated assault is if you injure someone and it causes permanent lasting marks. And then in context with this disorderly conduct is obviously DV. If Brent was talking earlier about legislation, I want to serve the citizens of Pinal County for as long as you possibly want me to serve. One of my goals by the time I end in service is to get the legislature to fix the law as far as disorderly conduct DV goes. We all want to stop domestic violence. This is the best example I can give people so they understand, is when I started in law enforcement and they asked me the question, have you ever committed domestic violence? And I said, absolutely never, because a man would never raise a hand to a woman. I passed my polygraph with flying colors. I would tell you guys, if I took that polygraph today and that was my same answer, I would fail that polygraph because I knew legally I was lying. If you ever delve into the DV standards, it basically means if you are in a physical altercation or a disorderly conduct altercation with another person that you've ever resided under the same household, or you've ever had a romantic relationship with, or it's considered domestic violence. And for the majority of them, they are shall arrest. If we go out there and someone is physically injured, we have to figure out who the primary aggressor is, and that person has to be arrested and booked into jail. Even the example I get to use forever is two adult brothers. Their dad, very elderly dad, dies. They both move or come from out of state to settle dad's estates. They get a little heated. They get into a knockdown, drag out fight. Well, they lived under the same house 50 years ago, but under Arizona statutes, that's still considered domestic violence. My example is because now I have to admit that I committed domestic violence. How many veterans do we have in the room? How many veterans served back when the standard thing was? I know it was in the Navy when I served in the late 80s, early 90s. The standard thing was your barracks petty officer would tell you, you two go out back and settle it, and then come back and tell me who won. That is literally under Arizona law. That's domestic violence, because I got into a physical altercation with my barracks mate because he kept watching pornography very loud, and I was told to take it out back and settle it. That under Arizona law is domestic violence. So that's why there's so many instances there for a lot of things. Arizona otherwise is a mutual combat state. We're not going to get into a fight, but if him and I got into a physical altercation and law enforcement arrives on scene and they determine that there's no domestic relationship whatsoever, and he says, I don't want to be a victim, and I said, I don't want to be a victim, you can go your separate ways. Arizona under our law is what's called a mutual combat state. They added all these DVs, which were removed from the mutual combat state. So that is why there's so many charges. And I bring this up every single time because we have a news outlet out of Phoenix that hates law enforcement. They've never, Dave, I won't even honor him by saying his last name, has never done a pro law enforcement news story in his life. And every about 2 years, he does an article on the fact that cops aren't doing their job. They're not documenting crimes well enough because we're arresting people for domestic violence, but half of domestic violence releasees never make it to trial. He loves to point that out. What he doesn't mention is nobody really thinks that we're going to get a conviction against two 60-year-old men that don't even live in the same state. No one wants them brought back here to charge for that domestic violence DV. And so that's why the charges are dropped as far as that goes. So that's an easy statistic for them to twist. But I got on my soapbox that'll be it. But definitely talk to your legislature about that. It's too late this year because we're entering into Hell Week. So, and that's my explanation for the DV definitions. The definitions are too numerous for this city council meeting for me to go over, because then we never hear from the great county attorney. Top 10 criminal offenses: property crime and drug crimes, theft, 952 incidences of theft in Santan Valley. Drug paraphernalia, 919 incidences. That's actually gone down. Does anybody know why it's gone down? Because Arizona legalized marijuana. So, shoplifting, 604 incidences. Drug possession, marijuana, still 458 incidences of illegal drug possession of marijuana. Wait a minute, the sheriff just said that marijuana is legal now. Well, it's legal in most incidences, but it's also illegal in some incidences, like carrying marijuana in your vehicle, not in the approved container that you drove home from the dispensary with. Marijuana possession for children is obviously, we still want to make that illegal. So that's where you get them 458 incidences. Dangerous drugs, meth, LSD, cocaine, all of those that don't have are listed there. We have 378 incidences. The dominance of disorderly conduct and criminal damage over more severe felonies like aggravated assault or robbery does definitely reinforce the profile of Santan Valley as a community dealing primarily with social friction and domestic issues other than organized violent crime. You could have Hunter dig through the crime statistics in Santan Valley forever, but we can tell you that there's nothing in our crime statistics show that MS-13 is operating here or anything like that. You have a very safe community dealing with things that normal safe communities deal with, except for one glaring exception that I'll talk about at the end. These are the beats. As I said, we proactively drew up the beats for the projected incorporation, and as soon as the vote was made, we modified our beats, and then this is Santan Valley, or what we call Adam region, and those are your beats. Now these beats, when we'll go through them, their size is determined by the calls for service and the call volume. So that's sometimes why you'll see a beat that's a little larger is because they have less calls for service. There might be more farmland there. There might be businesses complexes there. So a beat might be smaller because they're building a gigantic apartment complex next to Walmart. And
So that was one.
I'm sorry.
Update, previous beats, this is the proposed beats.
Oh, this is the old one.
This is, yeah, you don't have the new slides.
Here, do you have a?
Add it right now.
Yeah, thank you for catching that. You might go to the same. Thought it looked a little weird then.
And there's a few more slides on the.
Sorry about that, guys. The PowerPoint I gave you guys says officer shooting. So.
And while he, real quick on slide number 5, that was the numbers you were going through. Disorderly conduct, criminal damage, assault. Are those incidences per year? Because you have 2015 to 2025 as a date, or is that an average of a year? Or total? That's total. Okay.
All right.
Sheriff, the list of top 10 criminal offenses you have here, how does this relate to some of the other areas you service in the county? Are some of like, these top 3 or 5 similar? You would see this kind of similar in other communities? Is this unique to Santan Valley? What's your take on that?
So it's about average, especially when you equate your population size. The big, and we'll touch on it at the end, the biggest difference we see with Santan Valley with other areas that we service is your juvenile problems. And that's directly related to group homes, which I'll talk about at the end. So that is, there are neighborhoods that are way more violent with the top 10 crimes that we service. And then there's neighborhoods where they're a lot less, but for your population, it's considered a low crime neighborhood. All right.
I did add that one and that one are new. Santan Valley specific.
Hunter is always updating this, so thank you, because this is something I just asked him about today, and he added to the PowerPoint. So these are the call times, and these are the average travel times and the average time on scene for these different calls for services, and these are specifically Santan Valley, and these are updated as of this morning. So if you look at it, assault average travel time, one of my deputies to respond if a Santan Valleyan calls in an assault is 4 minutes and 55 seconds. Fire and smoke is 7 minutes, 15 seconds. Domestic, 7 minutes. And those times are right there at the national average. Mental health calls, dead body calls. If you see average length of time for a mental health call and a dead body call are both about an hour and a half. The average length of time a deputy will respond there. And the one big thing, the difference between a dead body call and a mental health call is usually a mental health call has 2 deputies there because you're dealing with a subject that's actually in mental fright. There's dead body call. Once we determine that, yes, the individual is actually deceased, it's 1 deputy there helping a family through their grief. Suicidal subjects, a little over an hour. And juvenile disturbance, 26 minutes is the average length of time deputy has to spend at a juvenile disturbance. Now let's get to the real beats. I should have thought that's been a long day. I only pressed it once. That's crazy. Are you doing that or am I?
I was getting to the slide you were at.
So yeah, it didn't look right. So thank you, Hunter. These are the beats, and because I wanted to talk about Adam 4. If you see that, a lot of Adam 4's beat, it's a large beat area, but a lot of that is state trust land. and farmland and then the reservoir. So that's where this is at. You'll see the different boundaries, of course. You got Queen Creek to the northwest. You got the military reservation here, and this is Arizona Farms, Skyline Road, Sneff Road. And so these are the beats as we've gotten broke up right now. Again, Walmart, they're awesome at stopping people for shoplifting, but it's also a lot of calls for service because people want to shoplift from Home Depot. And then they're built, just the enormity of the building that they're doing there. And I don't know if you guys can hear me, but I say this everywhere. I think whoever designed the intersection that is Hunt and Bella Vista should be investigated. It's one a day, guys. We have at least one collision a day at Hunt and Bella Vista. Yeah, that's the second one. We'll get to that. I don't think my clicker's working. So beat analysis for Adam 1. Traffic related offenses, and all these statistics are 2015 to 2025. We tried to use statistics to show you the overview of the areas, and we can break them down for current and newer on. I'd like to come back for as many meetings as possible, whatever information. We just wanted to give you a brief overview of everything. The Pinal County Sheriff's Office started looking at considering Santan Valley as a city when the first time the incorporation effort took place. The very first one we talked about, and that was 2015. So we just took that as an average to start working towards here. So if you look in Adam 1, those are the operational volume as far as calls for service, welfare checks, thefts, repossessions. You will see every single beat. Repossessions are pretty high for Santan Valley. I mentioned earlier about the juvenile statistics, but as far as repossessions, we're going to go through every single beat. You're going to see that people don't pay their car payments. Adam 2, as I said earlier, it's very small for a reason. If you go back, look at the size of this great big beat, 18,734 traffic related volumes for the whole beat, and then switch forward here because this thing's 3,967 traffic related volumes. And the reason that they're not able to do that much traffic in small areas because they're responding to all these other calls. 25,240 calls, 2,000 welfare checks, 1,490 civil complaints, 1,430 domestic violence, suspicious activity, disturbance, repossessions, 861. Again, people don't pay their car payments. Theft, criminal damage. Side note, in Arizona, if a bank can repo a vehicle and they don't make a disturbance, they don't need a court order. So they can come and if a vehicle's parked on a roadway and they can hook up to it and drive away and make it basically around the corner is what the Arizona Supreme Court says, then that's a good repo. But if they go to hook it up and they don't get it completely off the property, then the owner of it can stop it and then they have to go and get a court order. Adam 3, another small beat. Total operational volume, 48,930 calls for service in the last 10 years, and that beat alone. The reckless driving in that beat is quite high, 2,600, and repossessions at 1,494, 2,000 disturbances, and 2,100 suspicious activity in Adam 3. Traffic-related volume, the deputies actually get a pretty decent time of pulling traffic there. This is one of them beats that we get a lot of calls for service. What's the old axiom, guys? Squeaky wheel gets the grease. I will tell you that my traffic units, one of the biggest myths that is out there in this world is that there's quotas for traffic enforcement officers. The Supreme Court says that quotas are illegal. And I want to tell you guys, traffic deputies are wired differently. We don't need to tell them quotas because I have to put them in certain roads and they're like, well, I only got 3 tickets an hour. Normally, if I go to Adam 3, I get 6 tickets in an hour because it's volume of vehicles driven by them. So that's just the way they're wired.
I'm seeing a trend here. Welfare checks, there's a lot of them
Yes, sir.
in each one. Is that just a range of just calls that people are saying, hey, can you go check up? I haven't heard from somebody. How much time does the deputies have to be on a call for a welfare checkup? What's the average?
We just saw it, I think it was 25 minutes.
25? Okay.
But Hunter can pull it up right now as far as today, but it is around 25 minutes.
Okay.
We'll give you what it is statistically here today.
28.
28 minutes adds up. It's one of them that's always changing it. As far as welfare checks go, I don't want to keep laboring the point, but there are 93 group homes operating right now in Santan Valley. 12 of them are DCS licensed group homes. 14 are, as of today, are DCS licensed group homes. The other ones are in a different status pending, like application received, application review, but literally there are 93 group homes in your city, and they are our highest call for volume range. If you want to lower response times, if you want more deputies out there conducting traffic enforcement on Gansel and Bella Vista and Hunt and Bella Vista, think and look at the group homes. And we'll talk about it there at the end, but a lot of these welfare checks, a lot of these disturbances and runaway juveniles are from the group homes. One of the big things, and we were talking earlier about this, is under Arizona law, a parent or guardian shall use the force necessary to control a situation. Best example I can ever give you of a parent not using force necessary to control a situation is a mother calls up and says, my daughter's running away. And we said, how do you know she's running away? She says, well, she says she's leaving. And she gives us a call by call description. We were arguing, and it was Hunt and Bella Vista, Fry's shopping market. Mom wouldn't buy daughter the cereal she wanted. So daughter says, I'm running away from home. So mom immediately calls us up and says, she ran away. She's running across the intersection, gives us play by play. So I arrive on scene. I say, listen, what did you do to stop her from running out into a busy intersection? What force did you use to stop your child and control your child? No, that's your job. That's not my job. It's literally what the mother told me. So we cited her for contributing to delinquency of a minor, because that's pretty textbook definition of it. Her minor child was being delinquent, and she contributed to it by not doing anything at all. We got a conviction on that. Right now, DCS Group Homes and Supervisor Goodman is sitting on a panel with me on this. We're in contact with them. I will tell you that DCS right now, their guidelines tell them that they can't get involved. If a kid says they're running away from home, that they have to just let them go. They can't physically stop a child from running away from a home where they have guardianship under. And to me, that's just atrocious. Every one of them deputies that's standing out there today can tell you, on a daily basis, I mean, literally on a daily basis, this is the call we get, is this is such and such group home, and I need to report a welfare check. What's a welfare check? What's a runaway juvenile, and they're wearing black pants and a gray sweatshirt, and oh wait, they're changing into a blue sweatshirt and they're packing a backpack. And we're like, what do you mean they're changing into clothes? They're obviously not a runaway juvenile. Oh, well, they say they're leaving. They're going back to Phoenix where they're from, and we're not allowed to get involved. And that is, when we get to the statistic, that is a large amount of calls for service for it. The issue before you, the city council and the Santan Valleyans is if you want to follow the model of Maricopa County, because the reason there's so many juvenile disturbances and runaway juveniles and welfare checks in your town is because the majority of these kids that are in group homes in Santan Valley are not even from Pinal County. Maricopa County took the initiative and they said, we don't want these group homes in our county. So they made the cost for getting a license for a group home in Maricopa County cost prohibitive. So they moved them all back here. And I just ask you guys to think back when you were a child. And I grew up in Tucson, Arizona. And if I screwed up bad enough, and I have when I was a kid, there wasn't a cop there to see me. But if I screwed up bad enough that DCS decided to put me in a group home for a while, and then you put me in a group home in Phoenix and my girlfriend's in Tucson, what 16-year-old boy's not going to run away from home to go see his girlfriend? And that's what we're experiencing. A lot of this is these juveniles are moved out of their area and they're moved here. Then DCS is telling them, the guardians, that they're not allowed to do anything with them, and the kids are running away.
Sheriff, do these welfare checks always require a deputy to show up, or do you have like a volunteer squad or posse that goes out and does some of these welfare checks to relieve the deputies?
There are certain welfare checks that we have volunteers can go out. Mostly, our volunteers consist of two different organizations that will be out there in the street. We have our COPs, which is our Citizens on Patrol. They are our eyes and ears, and depending on the welfare check, I've used them for what we call urban searches. If like actually not far from here, before this building existed, we had a mentally needs child that ran away from home, and he was out in the farm area, and we use COP for that. So that would technically be called a welfare check, and we would use civilians for them. Our posse, our other volunteers, they are a godsend because they really take the burden off us for holding a perimeter down or for transporting our inmates. Once we get someone under arrest, they take them to the jail for us. And that's
Okay, so you have a volunteer force, but it's minimal impact because mostly deputies are still having to go out.
Yes, for as far as welfare checks and other calls for service, yes, sir.
And we are approaching 7 o'clock. I know we have several presentations lined up for tonight, so I just, as far as time management, wanted to signal that.
Okay,
Thank you.
this is item 4. Obviously, seeing the same types of things as far as the welfare checks go, total operator volumes, and item 5, you're not going to see much different. Very small beat. Repossessions, 1,408. Welfare checks, 3,530 welfare checks. That's a lot. And for most of, and I was speaking with council members earlier, we can discuss actual addresses, and because these are children, the addresses have to be protected for public. And so this is public information that's on this PowerPoint available to everybody, but I can tell you a large majority of the group homes are in this beat right here. So you want to, we'll go forward to the beat item 6. 46,652 operational volume. And I'm rushing through these guys. You know me, I'll talk to 2 people if 1 person will listen. So if you guys want this PowerPoint afterwards, write down your email for me and I will send it to you. And or if you want to, we can go through the slides quicker. But I want to get to the last 2. So these are traffic. You all know the worst intersections in Santan Valley. They're here listed for you. There's no surprises there. Hunt and Bella Vista, Gary and Hunt, Ironwood, Nocateel. These are your problem intersections. I will tell you, traffic guys, this is traffic, both my traffic enforcement deputies and road engineers. If you want to stop or eliminate a lot of your traffic instances, consider investing in synchronized lights. So I know it's an expensive cost up front, but I just go back to those lights at Hunt Highway, where the Home Depot is and the Walmart, where literally this light turns green and 15 feet next to me, that light's red. And that's what causes a lot of these slow moving fender benders. And we go through all the traffic things, right? I didn't think I was going to go so long on my.
Sorry for the 52 slider.
No, it's good. It's a lot of information, but I didn't know I was going to go so long on my soapboxing, and I really want to listen to the county attorney. So you went backwards.
Do you think the red light cameras help reduce red light runners? I know living out here, it doesn't matter what time of day I'm driving, I will see at least 1 person run a red light.
Oh, yes.
Every time I'm out.
Yes.
So does red light cameras reduce red light runners or both?
The studies that are done by the red light camera companies say that they reduce red light cameras. The studies that were done by NHTSA says that they actually cause more rear end collisions, and they cause more people to run red or to speed through a yellow light. As far as my biggest issue from a law enforcement aspect of it is the way red light cameras are written in Arizona. They violate our citizens' due process rights. And I don't, from a law enforcement aspect of it, I don't like red light cameras because I've never seen a red light camera recognize that someone is driving on a suspended license or is DUI.
Yeah. I just know it's a bad problem out here.
Yes, sir, it is. I'm gonna keep going through, Garrett. Yeah.
Don't want to stop.
I want to go to the last 2 slides, and because they say that as far as Public speaking, I know when I took public speaking in college, they said that the audience remembers the first thing you said and the last thing that you said. And so the first and the last thing I say, I want to be the same thing. When you get, okay. See this? These are the top 10 group homes for calls for service. And this is, but look at the right-hand side. What I want you to see is so group home, the first one, they're listed as active. They've had 368 incident counts for that home. But look at all the ones, there's 93 group homes in Santan Valley. Only 14 as of today are actually approved group homes. Everyone else is under review status or pending compliance status or something like that. So they are moving in because it is a business and it's a profitable business.
The 9 on the right are just list of statuses, doesn't correlate with the one on the left.
Yes, sir. Okay, good.
Just all the statuses on the left side are just lists without giving the address.
And so to really drive this point home at the last slide, since January of 2020 through, that's the total number of calls for service to the group homes in your city. 4,913.
Unbelievable.
And the biggest statistic I'd like you guys to take away from you is 62 or 64 as of today. 62. 62%. So that's 6 out of every 10 active juvenile criminal cases that are in Santan Valley. So that's 6.
All of Pinal County.
All of Pinal County. Oh, shoot. Yeah, I'm glad you clarified that. I misunderstood when I was reading. So 62% of all juvenile crime that is actively being investigated in Pinal County, the size of the state of Connecticut, are directly related to group homes in Santan Valley. And that's why I tell you guys, there's other ways, there's other slides that I'd like to meet with you on ways we can help better, that I'd suggest that we could better benefit and serve the citizens of Pinal County. But if there's one issue that Supervisor Goodman and I, sitting on this committee together, recognized it's right here, it's staring us in the face. Thank you,
Sheriff. Thank you. That's a lot of good information, and we do appreciate the little card that you gave us. I have one just for edification for the council and for the citizens. In any agreement that goes forward that is directed to the sheriff's department, does it have to go through the board of supervisors also?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yeah,
so we'd be working with, through you, and ultimately they would be the ones to make the recommendation, yay or nay, on anything. Okay.
Yes, sir. Because especially if you abide by or listen to my recommendation about creating a new position, a deputy chief over Santan Valley, that's directly relates to the pocketbooks and they hold the purse.
Okay, we sure do. Any comments or any from the council before we move on?
One random question. So each of these group homes, about on average, how many juveniles that house approximately?
That's a great question. And the sad part about it is that would be a DCS question. Because I would tell you every group home I have, I could give you a ballpark figure from the group homes that I've responded to out here. There's anywhere from 6 kids living in that house to 16, 30 kids in one house in particular. So there are corporations, 6 to 10 is the max. 6 to 10. So the one we shut down where they attacked the worker, that was the one that was offered. That's the one I remember a bunch of people in.
Okay. Wow. Thank you for your presentation. We hope that you'll come back.
Yeah,
I'm sure
absolutely.
we got a lot. We just didn't have enough time, and there's a lot of information up here that you have, and we'd love to have that shared with us. So thank you.
And it's all jostling around.
But you pick it when you need it. Okay. Thank you, Sheriff. Appreciate you. Okay. We'll move on to item number 7B. This is going to be a presentation by the Pinal County Attorney's Office. It's about reporting crime statistics in Santan Valley area for the calendar years of 2023 through 2025, and a general overview of the role and function of the Pinal County Attorney's Office. And we'll turn the time over to Brad Miller. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. Let me get hooked up here real quick. All right, thank you so much, Mayor, members of the Town Council. I appreciate it. My name is Brad Miller, your Pinal County Attorney. Now, just for the edification of some of the members of the audience of what is a county attorney. I'm both your district attorney, which I handle all the felony cases in the entire county, but I also serve as a legal advisor for many of the county departments, including the sheriff's department. I'm the sheriff's attorney. So we handle all those things. So I know the mayor asked about a potential MOU with respect to the sheriff's department. That will eventually go to the Board of Supervisors for ultimate approval, but in fact, it'll be my lawyers who will be reviewing it with your town attorney in order to submit that to the Board of Supervisors. So we'll be involved in that process. But I'm really happy to be here tonight to talk a little bit about what my office does, what's going on in your town, where the hot spots are, and probably some information that you will find interesting. But ultimately, it's about this, is we want to prosecute violent and dangerous criminals. That's really our priority. And we want to focus on those things. We want to divert and to handle some of the lower level cases where we can. We want to give people an opportunity for rehabilitation. But in the end, the biggest predictor of future crime is past crime. And so it's been a priority of my office to focus on violent criminals, repeat offenders, and finally crimes against children. And what you're going to see in these statistics, unfortunately, is there is a problem here in Santan Valley. But I want to get into these statistics. I didn't go back all the way to 2015 like the sheriff did. What I want to do is focus on the last 3 years. And so I'm going to talk about those specifically. Now, these statistics aren't just here for your edification. These statistics are meant to show is that it is part of a plan of us attempting to reduce crime. But what you will see in these numbers is, in fact, crime is increasing. At least that's what it appears the numbers are. But I want to give you a little bit different view about what these numbers show. Is that I don't believe that crime is increasing. I believe that we're doing a better job of detecting crime. We're doing a better job of finding where these folks are. We're doing a better job of not just waiting till victims are victimized, but we're going out into the community positively. And the sheriff's department is a big part of this. And actually finding these individuals, finding the repeat offenders, finding the people on probation warrants, and actually arresting them and locking them up and keeping them out of our community. We're doing a much better job of that. And the way we've done that is we set priorities, we set policy. One of the main things I did when I came into office in 2025 is to start a special victims unit, which had not existed in the Pinal County Attorney's Office before. Just a little bit about my background. I've been prosecuting crimes against children for about 15 years, both on the civilian side of the Maricopa County Attorney's Office and in the United States Marine Corps, where I currently serve today. The focus of my practice has been to prosecute harshly people who commit crimes against the most vulnerable, and that's children. And that's something that we do not tolerate. We have a zero tolerance policy in my office. And oftentimes with these cases, we do not even give a plea offer. If it's life in prison, it's life in prison. That's where you belong. For instance, this past week, we had an individual that was caught aggravated luring of a minor. And I'm going to talk about a sting case we ran here in Santan Valley a few weeks ago, or actually about a month ago. And the reason why we run these sting cases is very important, is because we know that there are live victims. We will find live victims in these sting cases. And this particular sting case, we had a trial on this past week. An individual did in fact have a child in his custody. And luckily, a jury of our peers here in Pinal County found this individual guilty, and he'll be spending the next 250 years in prison, which obviously is life, plus 8 lifetimes on probation. He will never get out. And based on my policy, my office's policy, we do not want him to get out. We will continue to prosecute crimes in that way, in that manner, because that is the expectation of my office. So let's get into these statistics. Let's talk about year 2025. I want to highlight a few things. Is this working? I'll just stay here. That's perfect. Thank you. All right. So what I did, and I just want to give you kind of a gauge of what we're looking at here, is obviously this is not exactly the limits of the town, but I will say obviously people don't stay within town limits. Crime does not follow town limits. So what we did is we decided to do a neighborhood by neighborhood search of all the crime that had occurred in 2025. And we broke that down into particular areas. We tried to group them as easily as possible into particular neighborhoods. So I wanted to speak specifically about certain neighborhoods. And so what we did is we called these clusters. And again, these slides will be available for any member of the public. If you want them, we'll provide them all to you. I want to talk about 4 clusters specifically in 2025. The first one, Bella Vista South, we call it, which is basically Hunt Highway and Bella Vista. And that is going to be, is it going to show up? Nope. I'm going to come around you and point. That is going to be this area. I want to talk about this area right here. That's our top crime area in the entire city, in the entire town of 2025. This particular zone reflected a wide range of crimes, including violence and sexual crimes, assault, molestations of children, unlawful imprisonment, luring of a minor, threatening, intimidating. In addition, there were many property crimes, financial crimes, obviously fraudulent use of a credit card, shoplifting, and criminal damage. There were also a number 4 were public safety and endangerment style crimes, reckless driving, excessive speed endangerment, a lot of things that Sheriff Teeple spoke about, but also failure to stop, unlawful flights. And finally, in this particular crime, there were also digital and child welfare offenses, including harassment with electronic devices and permitting children to improperly use some of these devices. This particular area showed a high mix of felony level charges, which with strong implications for traffic enforcement, child protection, and digital safety. But that was your top area. Again, the cross streets Hunt and Bella Vista. Number 2, Johnston Ranch, Bella Vista and Gansell. This particular area, this cluster, was the second worst in the entire town. But again, very different mix. And that's the interesting thing about these towns. I know one of the council members asked about what types of crimes do you see in this town versus other towns and other in Pinal County. But what I can say is this: every town and every city is a little bit different. There's certain towns and cities that have more gang-related issues, as Sheriff Teeple discussed. But there are certain other towns that have a different mix of crimes. And here, this particular cluster, what we see is a lot of traffic and DUI-related offenses. Driving under the influence, aggravated DUI, no registration, no rear license plates. Interference with judicial proceedings, failure to stop, produce insurance. As you can hear by just this list, very different than the last zone that we talked about. But of course, we also have repeat offenses, including disorderly conduct, threatening, intimidating, criminal damage. Now, let me just differentiate some of the information that Sheriff Teeple stated that what I'm stating here today. Sheriff Teeple is talking about all of the incidents, those responses. I'm not talking about those responses. I'm talking about cases that my office actually prosecuted. Ones that either went to a trial or went to a plea, or cases where we couldn't make it, and in fact actually had to dismiss those particular charges. All of that is broken down in this data. But for this neighborhood level data, these are cases that actually went to a trial or a person took a plea and they were found guilty, and that's what we're talking about. Let's go to the third, which is also Johnson Ranch on the east side of Hunt Highway. You know, the Johnson Ranch loop that I know many of you are probably familiar with. In this particular cluster, we see another different mix. Youth and weapons related offenses seem to follow this particular zone, including escalated driving offenses, aggravated DUI, excess speed, and interestingly, unlawful burning cases. We didn't see this a lot in some of the other areas. We also saw a lot of contempt of court and preventing emergency communication types of crimes. This cluster showed an escalated risk amongst youth and impaired drivers with implications of community education and emergency response. Again, very different than some of the other zones. Finally, I want to talk about Skyline Ranch, Gary and Skyline Drive. Again, we see high-risk driving, extreme DUI, aggravated assault, excess speed and endangerment, property-related offenses, false reporting, theft of means of transportation, no insurance, emergency interference with communication, and passive resistance of law enforcement. This zone reflects public safety threats, including from impaired drivers. And for some reason in Skyline Ranch, we see a lot more aggravated DUI cases. I don't know why, but that's what the statistics show. So as you can see, and you see all of these different little bubbles all across your town, it still shows a different mix of what we have, what is happening in your town. But those are the worst areas. One of the other things I wanted to highlight is this past December, my office ran an operation called Operation Shepherd's Watch. This was a sting operation. Just to give you a brief overview of what a sting operation is, not to insult your intelligence, but I think it may help. This is one of those instances where it's like a Chris Hansen style sting operation where we have individuals pretending to be police officers. They chat online with individuals in order to see whether they will be willing to engage. Most of these undercover police officers pose as children, sometimes 14, 15, 16 years old, to see if we can get these individuals to actually respond. In that one operation, we actually ran it pretty close to here. We found 8 individuals that were willing to sign up and say, I want to have sex with children here in your town. So this is something that we need to have more affirmative policing. And I know the sheriff's office has been involved in some of this, and I know my office certainly will be. But I just want to let you know that these things are happening in your community. And as you will see from these 2025 crime statistics, the crime has changed. And I know we're short on time, so I promise to speed it up. So I'm going to skip 2024, but I wanted to show you a stark difference. If you can go to 23, please. I want to show you a stark difference in this crime stats, 2025 to 2023. What you will see in 2023 is not what I just told you. We don't see crimes against children. We don't see child molestation. We don't see aggravated DUIs. What we see is a lot more what we would call paper crimes. Driving, compliance issues, procedural types of crimes. Now, this can be a whole host of reasons. We're still going through the data to figure out the why. Of course, everybody wants to know the why. I can't tell you exactly the why. Now, we do talk to a lot of criminals. We do interview a lot of folks. But sometimes these things change. Sometimes they don't always give us the best information. But I will say, over just the last couple of years, there's been a stark difference. Some of this, I think, could be related to the group home problem. I certainly believe that that certainly is the case. Also, the growth of the town, the more exposure. But there's another important factor. Proactive policing is occurring more and more often here in this town. And I think we're getting a better job of detecting it. And sometimes when you go for it and you seek it and you have better professionally trained individuals, like my office has, and I know the sheriff's office has, to deal with these specific types of crime, they get better at detecting it. And that's what we're doing. We're getting better at detecting this crime so we can try to eradicate it from your town. We will continue to work hard for you. We will continue to work hard for the residents. And obviously, I'm open for questions of anything you want, any question you want to ask regarding the data. I know we're short on time. But I will say, as my team is working very hard with the sheriff's office in this particular town to keep you safe. But again, my priorities are violent crime, repeat offenders, and going after individuals who prey on the most vulnerable, and that's kids. We will not be changing any of those policies. With that, I invite any questions.
Thank you. On your map, do you have any numbers to the northern part of Santan Valley up on the Ironwood, Ocotillo that's not displayed here? Is it not that bad of an area or?
Yeah, great question, Mayor. I appreciate that. So what we see in the data, and I can provide all of this to you. I just want to provide a snapshot of where we saw the most crime, the localized crime. But as you get further and further north, the crime almost disappears. It's very, very little, especially when you get up into the Queen Creek area. It seems to be focused, as you can see where those big bubbles are, which is really on the southern part of your town. That's where at least we've seen the cases that we want to focus on. Again, those violent folks, repeat offenders, the violent juvenile offenders, and some of those things.
I'll spare you the question of why. We already went over the whys. We don't know why. It changes.
We are looking into it. We have some speculative information about the why. We can, again, I can speculate all day. If you want to sit down and have coffee, or anybody wants to, we could probably talk about that, of some of the reasons why. Because I think the data will spell that out. But I think some of it's related to some of the group home issues. Some of it's related to detection, and some of it's related to population growth. But I think there's other factors too.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
If you could wave a magic wand on anything in the town can actually implement and do,
Yeah.
what would it be that could help your office or the sheriff's office?
I think community support. About 2 months ago, I came out and spoke to a couple of the schools here in Santan Valley. And I think a lot of the schools, a lot of students need more exposure to what police officers do, what my office does. I think that education piece to let them know that there is an alternative other than committing crime, that this isn't always the most fun thing. I don't know if you remember back in the day, we had the DARE programs, we had some of the presidential fitness programs, some of those things where you can actually engage members of the community. And interestingly, last week, about a week or so ago, I was out in Washington, DC, and then I went on a recruiting trip to recruit more law students because Arizona is actually one of like 47, 48 in number of lawyers per capita. We actually have a lawyer problem in Arizona. But one of the things they said is this, and I thought was interesting with the newer generations, and these were law students, obviously educated, most had bachelor's degrees, some had master's, some had PhDs. They said the number one recruiting tool is exposure. I think we've had so many generations go through COVID and everything be online and Zoom. We think that we only communicate well via a screen. But what they're finding is this, and even amongst newer police recruits, and something that we'll probably end up talking about here soon, is if you actually go there physically present and show that you're engaged and look at them eye to eye, they will start engaging more. And I think that the ease of some of these screens, the ease of Zoom, the ease of these different programs, we've gotten lazy. As elected officials, as members of our society, as town council, I'm not disparaging the town council, but I will say this, engage, engage, engage. We want to engage, that's why we're here. And I would encourage you to also engage. And I think that's going to be part of the solution too.
I think this is great. These numbers that are here, these are things that we've wanted to see for a while, and not everyone has the opportunity to see it or didn't want to reach out to both the sheriff's department or you. So we appreciate that. Do we have any questions or comments from the council?
Council, just a point to keep in mind, now that the town is incorporated, what will happen is the town will be responsible for misdemeanor cases within its jurisdiction, right? Felony cases will continue to go to Mr. Miller's office for prosecution. So that's one of the changes that occurs once we're incorporated, so as we are now. So
appreciate that clarification.
May I piggyback on that point? So that's a very important point. But the other thing that I want to also encourage, we talk about issues of engagement, is your town prosecutor. We want to engage with them too, because there's a lot of tools that we have at my office that can potentially help some of your town prosecutors. One of the issues that we're seeing is some of the town prosecutors don't have the same checks and background checks. So I know the sheriff highlighted some of these domestic violence cases. Well, a domestic violence misdemeanor, if you get a couple of them under 133601, can turn into a felony really quickly. The last thing we need is a person who has committed multiple cases of domestic violence that should be a felony, go to your misdemeanor court where they should be with me. And so those are the things that we would encourage the town to engage with. We would encourage the town prosecutor to engage with, because we certainly want them to even come into my office. We can help cross-train them. We can answer questions and work with them with some of the tools that we have too. So with that, thank you so much.
Well, we appreciate that. Thank you for that clarification. Anyone on the council have any comments, questions?
Just one really quick thing. I know we're tight on time. So again, I really appreciate you drawing the attention on this matter. And I say this because I'm a little bit unsettled. The other day, I received in the mail a postcard regarding a sex offender moving into a nearby neighborhood. So again, the biggest thing as a resident is what do we do? So can you draw us to some resources? Because again, it's great that we're notified, but again, you feel this sense of helplessness that these are individuals that live so close to you and your loved ones. So again, if there's a way you can kind of draw us to what do we do next, I think that would be really critical and helpful to some of us who kind of feel askance about, okay, so what is the next step then?
Yeah.
So.
Great question, council member, mayor. This goes back to, I think, education too. So my office, again, what is a county attorney? The reason why I started off that, my speech to you is, what is a county attorney? What do we do? Well, we have also multiple departments under my office, including a victim services department and notifications department. We handle these issues. And so the first thing that you can do is to participate. We also do talks out into the community, talk about stalking and digital crime issues. We gave a talk out here in Santan Valley regarding luring cases. What apps and other tools are predators using to come after your kids? How do they do it? And in fact, we actually had a young woman who was a hacker, and she showed us how you can hack phones very, very quickly, how they can contact kids, how they can fake ages, information. So I think part of it is education, but part of it is participating in some of the talks that we're giving. Invite us back. That's what we want. We want to do community events. But I think the other big thing is reach out to my office, because we may have a division that can certainly provide you resources and information to give to not only yourself, sir, but also members of your community. I think would help a lot.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Good question. Great presentation from both Sheriff and you. Appreciate the information. Thank you for being here.
Thanks.
Okay. Okay, with that, we're gonna go to item number 7C. This will be a presentation regarding county planning and engineering functions currently administered within the town, including land use entitlements, subdivision approvals, and development activity over the past 5 years. The presentation includes statistical summaries and maps reflecting zoning cases, and I assume that's what these maps are here for subdivision approvals. And I believe we're going to turn the time over to Harvey, Kraus, and Sangita Dioker. Did I say that right? I should know your name by now. So if you guys want to go ahead and present to us, we're looking forward to this one. Not that we weren't looking forward to the previous two. Don't get me wrong. We're looking forward to all of them.
Save put the more exciting stuff towards the end of the agenda.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. That's why you're here, Harvey.
Pretty exciting. Also, Chris Wanamaker's here, and he will talk about subdivisions.
Yeah, he'll be coming up after you, right? Yeah.
That's correct.
Okay.
He has a separate PowerPoint. Usually you have I feel like I should have been the warm-up act for Elvis, but I guess I came after him. So couple of things. We want to talk a little bit about Santan Valley development. Of course, this has been a very major issue with the urbanization. Most of the urbanization that's occurred in Pinal County over the last 10, 15, 20 years has been in the Santan area. Brett asked us to produce this map. You each have this map. It's the one to the farthest to the right of Brent. It is the boundaries of the Santan incorporated area is in red. The dark hatched area is Queen Creek. Corporate limits of Queen Creek, and then the remainder, which is kind of the gray area or the beige area. I'm sorry, the beige area. That's the remainder of unincorporated and valley. We did just based on what we did.
Would it help if these were like higher or in front here or something? I don't know.
How about that?
Price is right.
Santan Valley. Queen Creek,
There you go.
unincorporated Pinal County.
For those who remember
Santan
that,
Valley Special Area Plan.
yes. So you're gonna advance the slide. You have the
Slide.
It should still be up there.
Clicker up there. Already hit the clicker.
There you go. So we've compiled it, mostly Sangita has done a yeoman job in compiling a bunch of information. We're going to focus primarily on the last 5 years, 25, 24, 23, 22, and 21, in terms of development projects, and also those that are in progress or on the drawing board, or that you might want to be interested in. But first, I want to talk a little bit about the difference between Title 11, which is the state statutes that govern planning and zoning within counties, versus Title 9, which is what the statutes that govern cities and towns in Arizona. There are some differences. So I'm going to highlight some of the major differences. There are some similarities too. So first of all, there's the comprehensive plan. The big difference is in the county, you call them comprehensive plans. In cities and towns, you call them general plans. So I may use those terms interchangeably, but they're basically the same thing. However, it's more complicated in the cities and towns than it is in the county. The one thing they have in common is each is required to have a land use element, which is basically, I like to refer to a comprehensive plan and the land use as your aspirational document. This is what you desire the land to be in the future, in the next 10 years, because the comprehensive plan and the general plan typically are good for 10 years, unless you're in a fast growing community like Santan. Usually they ask that you update the plan every 5 years, but you don't have to. So there's a difference between major and minor amendments in comp plans and general plans. First of all, when you adopt a general plan, you would define what a major plan is. It's not a definition in the statute. It's one that each city and town and county devise their own definition for a major plan amendment. So when I say major plan amendment, typically this is a dynamic document. It changes from year to year, month to month, and it needs to be dynamic because, and especially in a growing community, it will change. And so you need to have a mechanism to make changes. The legislature more recently changed where it used to be major amendments could only be processed once a year by the end of the calendar year. However, because of the dynamic growth in the valley and many of the cities, they changed it so you can process a major amendment in a city and town at any time of the year. However, they didn't change it for counties. So counties are still wedded to the requirement that you can only change a major amendment once a year. Minor amendments can be changed any time of the year. So that's the general difference. With a general plan, as the in a city or town, as the population increases, you generally have to provide more detail in your general plan. There are different elements that they call in the general plan, such as you might have a recreation, open trails plan element. You might have economic development element. So in the statutes, it'll give you, based upon your population, it'll tell you how many elements you have to adopt. And then you can also, you can adopt more elements. But generally, the general plan is more detailed, more involved. But the biggest thing I want to leave you with is it's more than a land use plan. It's policies and guidelines on growth and development. And it's your blueprint or your vision for the future for the community. And in cities and towns, it's voted on by the residents of the town. It's a vote. In county, typically it's not, but there's some exceptions for that. However, that's some of the major differences between general plans and comp plans. I'm sure I understand that Brent did a little workshop for your future commissioners or the committee, and must have gone over a lot of this information. So he's an expert on it as well. Rezoning. Oftentimes, so you have your land use plan, which is your desired land use, and then you have your zoning, which the zoning is a regulatory document. It is not. It is the document you use to regulate the land use, and this needs to be consistent and conformed to your general plan. Oftentimes, in Pinal County, when we get a rezoning request, we evaluate the general plan or the comp plan in our case, and to ensure that it's in conformance. If it's not, then we require the developer to run a comp plan amendment concurrently with that. In cities and towns that are very busy, they'll sometimes hold off on these zoning cases. They'll wait. Or comp plan amendments, and they'll wait and do a comp plan amendment maybe once a year to change all the zoning to conform with the land use. There's really no authority that's going to, no one's going to enforce it. There's nobody enforcing this provision unless it's a landowner that's damaged by it. So that's basically your rezoning and your comp plan. They kind of go together. They're both legislative, meaning you are the body that will approve these things. You have a great deal of latitude in approving zoning and comp plan. You can deny things. You can approve it. The best thing to do is relate it to the comp plan. Or if you have neighborhood complaints and it doesn't fit the community, you can deny it. The best thing to do is not deny it for a bad reason. Then don't give a reason if it's a bad reason, obviously. So you have a lot of latitude with rezonings and comp plans. Then there's another vehicle called planned area development. Sometimes communities refer to them as planned unit developments, PUDs or PADs. We use PADs in Pinal County. And what these are basically, they're used in two ways. In Pinal County, we use them as overlay districts. They allow for flexibility of the standards, the site development standards. So for instance, our smallest the zoning district with the smallest lot size is an R7, meaning one dwelling unit for each 7,000 square feet. So nowadays, because that 7,000 square foot lot is considered large these days, so a lot of the developers want to make that smaller, obviously. So they make it to 5,000 or 4,500. So what they do is they use a PAD overlay, which is basically a zoning action to reduce the lot sizes in that community. That's how it's used in Pinal County, or the setbacks, or any other, or they want to eliminate certain uses they feel are obnoxious. Aren't compatible with their neighborhood. In cities and towns, oftentimes you'll see PADs used in two ways, and either as a overlay district or as a separate, discrete zoning district. So a master plan developer who comes in and has commercial, residential, and wants to provide for flexibility in development, he will apply for a PAD, which will be the underlying zoning. For instance, in the case I told you in Pinell County, it's R17, and maybe in a city or town where it's a discrete district, it would be called a PAD. And so you wouldn't have to worry about the lot sizes. And the setbacks, that could be very flexible based upon the development plan that's approved through a PAD. Usually it's done through a larger area and a master plan development. So those are two ways to look at it. The PAD is meant to provide for flexibility in development, not necessarily to reduce setbacks or to change lot sizes. It's meant to provide for flexibility and more amenities for that project that you can't do through the strict interpretation of the zoning. Site plans are administratively approved. That is just an engineered, I'll back up a little bit. The development process is really divided into three major components. The planning element, which is what I call the entitlement, or you've heard the word entitlement. That gives the developer the right to build. That's the zoning, the comp plan, the rezoning, the PAD, any special use permits. That is the entitlements. And then the next phase would be the engineering, which is the subdividing, the infrastructure, and I refer to that as the horizontal development. And then the third one is the building function, and that's the vertical construction. So once you get through the planning, then the engineering, and then you go to the vertical, which is the building, and that's where you see the buildings and how they fit in relation to all the other items. And in the site plan, you'll see this is on an individual, let's say, gas station. There's a Terrible's coming into, and I use that term not as a noun, not as an adjective. Gas station. It's a gas station. I wasn't referring to it. That's the name of the gas station. There's actually two of them coming in to the Santan Valley area. So anyways, they show a gas station. They'll show where the pumps are, the drive-through lanes, the landscaping, where the utilities come in, the curb cuts, the whole layout of that project will be on the site plan. And that goes through a process, and that's administratively approved. And once you get into some of the cities and towns, they often have what is called design guidelines as part of their development process. And as part of that site plan, they'll want to look at the elevations. They'll want to look at the colors. And usually they have design guidelines that either have a separate committee or they go through staff for that kind of detail. However, we don't have that in Pinell County. Then there's special use permits. That's kind of a hybrid, but it's legislative. It would be approved by the elected officials. However, and it's processed much like a rezoning. However, the big difference is it will have criteria that you evaluate a special use permit. Sometimes you'll hear the term conditional use permit, and a lot of cities and towns will use conditional use permit versus a special use permit. I'll give you an example how it's done in some cities and towns. A special use permit may be allowed in any of the zoning districts within the city. And for instance, maybe a utility infrastructure, for instance, a substation was typically pops up all over town. So a lot of cities regulate that through a special use permit. So they'll allow it in every district, but it has to get council approval. A conditional use permit is one that would be a use that would only be permitted in certain districts. Each district would have a list of uses that would only be allowed in that district with certain conditions. So these are site specific. And an example would be like a rec center. Maybe a rec center wouldn't be allowed in every zoning district, but certain ones they would allow. and they would have criteria associated with that.
Harvey, can you speak to on a SUP or a special use permit, is there a time? Is it forever, or does that person, that entity have to come back in and redo the SUP, maybe for everyone's edification?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Typically, there is a time limit on that because things change over time. And if they do it on a speculative basis, there usually you have provide for various stipulations that they have to be in business for a certain period, need to open their, get their permit by a certain date and performance standards. And that is typical with most special use permits or conditional use permits. Oftentimes, if they don't meet the conditions that you've imposed on that use, you can actually take it away, revoke that use permit, and I've seen that happen. But the ordinance has to provide that authority, and it has to be pretty specific when you do that. But that does occur, and that's a good point. Along with that is what's called an industrial use permit. I never really used those until I came to Pinal County. I hadn't heard of that, but for particular industrial districts, if it's a heavy user, hazardous processing plant, you may require a industrial use permit. So it may be allowed by right. When I say it's allowed by right, it's as a permitted use, but you may want to have impose special requirements on that particular use at that district. So this gives you that vehicle, an industrial use permit, that vehicle to do it. I'll tell you, I know I want to respect your time. I know there's a lot of information. Basically, what Sangeeta's left you with is this large document with all these information, and you have it leading that as a reference. Each of those cases that are referenced in the last 5 years, or even further back, you can call the county and call our office, and we can get you more of the details where we are on that particular case. So this is a great reference tool that you can take with you. So we don't have to go over everything tonight. Of course, there's not time. So the next one is minor land divisions. And the county has spends an enormous amount of time, a lot of time on minor land divisions. And that's the division of land. A subdivision is defined as 5 or more divisions of land in the county. But in Title IX in the cities, it's 4 or more divisions of land. So there's a difference in the definition of a subdivision. Also in a city, if you create a new road as part of a division of land, that's also classified as a subdivision in a city or county. So it's a lot more restrictive to divide land in Title IX versus Title 11. And most of the cities and towns have plats, and minor land divisions in the county are outside subdivisions. I know I've hit you with a lot of stuff here, and it's probably it's not as exciting as Brad Miller and Sheriff Tipo. I don't have any really juicy statistics to share with you.
It's okay,
For those of us in planning and zoning, it's fine.
I could talk about the zoning for group homes if you'd like. I'd rather not.
I think we heard enough of those.
Sounds like you got a handle on group homes. So there are regulations on group homes. So minor land divisions, you won't see too much of that in the city. Usually it's plat, and you're doing with replat rather than minor land divisions in cities and towns. Variances, every municipality needs to form a board of adjustment. It can be a minimum of 5 members to 7 members. It's a quasi judicial function. Their decisions are based upon specific criteria in the state statute, and their decisions are basically final. They would have to go to court to appeal that decision or reverse that decision. Usually it's removed from the elected officials, and there's a separate body for that.
And that is if somebody wasn't happy with the outcome of a vote, they could then go and appeal it.
Yes, the Board of Adjustment, well, the Board of Adjustment serves primarily two functions: to approve or deny variances. Those are basically vary the strict standards of the zoning ordinance due to hardship or unusual circumstances on the land. And two, to appeal maybe administrative decisions in the zoning ordinance. If there's an interpretation of the zoning ordinance that the landowner doesn't agree with, he can appeal it to the Board of Adjustment. The Board of Adjustment can't change that decision, but they can just render a decision on that. And lastly is the zoning code amendments, which is basically text amendments, and the council can initiate those, staff can initiate those. So let me move on. I know I got 15.
Let me just, for the record, Vice Mayor Hudgens needed to leave, wasn't feeling well, but we still have a quorum, so we're still okay.
Hopefully it wasn't my presentation.
Well, now that you mention it.
I thought, yeah, it's, yeah. I would've brought some caffeine for him.
He came in, not sure if he would be able to stay, but he's gonna be okay though.
Of course. So what we have, we've also provided you some of the projects that are abutting or in the periphery of the municipal limits. And I want to focus on the zoning, the special use permits, site plans, and comprehensive sign packages. And I didn't define that, but so the next slide, oh, we got the next slide. So we move along, we got some other things. This is a slide that shows the municipal limits, which are in red. The blue outline is the Santan Valley Area Plan. It is a component or basically a more, they call it a specific plan of the general plan. It's much like a general plan, but it's focused on Santan Valley. And I believe Santan Valley roughly is about 30, the corporate limit is about 37% of the Santan Valley area plan. So just give you some reference. And then it also shows Queen Creek, the corporate limits. We have 49 zoning categories in Pinal County. That's not recommended, by the way. Just to let you know what not to do. In 2012, they had a zoning ordinance, and they decided that they're going to do a new zoning ordinance. So they created all new districts. Some of them are very close, and they just have compatible districts. But they decided to keep all the ones they had prior to 2012, and now we have new ones after 2012. So if you want to develop and you have an old zoning category in 2012, you can develop under that, but anything new has to be under the new zoning categories. So normally, roughly less than a half dozen, maybe 15, 16 at the most categories you should have. I think Matt from Michael Baker will tell you about that. So the next one is, I think these are the applications that we've compiled that I think might be of interest. Primarily those that have been in the works in 2025. Not all these have been approved. A couple, I'll go over those here in a minute. 25, 24, 23, and 22, and 21. Some of the names may be familiar, some of them may not be. Those are projects. And then the next slide is projects that are abutting the community. The numbers relate to the location right outside the red line. There's the Terribles, that's number one there that I referenced earlier. just right on, there's one right outside your border. And then I believe there's one that we just got that's within the town limits. And then the next slide is those that are in 25 and 26, the status. Copper Basin battery storage, it's partly within unincorporated Pinell County. Most of it's going to be in the town. I think they're going to develop the whole thing in the town. I think the manager Billingsley has met with the developer on that one, and that's been submitted. The Vine at Skyline is one that's going to the Planning Commission actually tomorrow evening or tomorrow morning. And that has commercial. There's about 6 pads of commercial. It's at Skyline and Gary, I believe. And it's got 28 townhomes and 90 apartment units. So that'll be going to the Planning Commission for public hearing. And then one that was continued at our January PNC meeting is Copaneck property, and that's residential development, 340 lots. There was concern about the second access and 2-story homes on the periphery of the existing development. So that is scheduled for March 19th, but it may be once again continued. Then the next 2 are 2 projects that have been completed but have not been constructed or not been moved forward.
Ready, Jay?
Sorry, this is that. Time limit.
I'm sorry.
I think it's when I thought it was when Alan gives me dirty looks. Only 15 minutes. I don't know if that's 15 minutes. Probably too long. So I will rush through the next. These are the next 2. If you want to see this, the Vine and Skyline, I've got it here on the next slide. That's Copper Base. That's the one that's flowing PNZ tomorrow. If you're interested, the Gary Road is where the commercial is, and then in the rear is the MR, which is multi-family residential, or townhomes and residential. And then the next one is the other project I mentioned. That's 340 lots. So what else you want to keep going with? Oh, I want next slide. I want to mention Santana Valley Urban Core primarily. You want to go to that one? Maybe go back.
2024.
Yeah, this was approved in 2024. This is a project I think that's really exciting. It's over 3,200 acres. It's owned by state trust land, and this could be your city center. We approved flexible zoning for this because this was the state land needed to have zoning to put it into the incorporation. So that's why it was included, and the zoning went through. The county sponsored that zoning, and it has industrial, residential, commercial. It's very flexible, and I think it gives you a really good blueprint to come up with a city center and to do some really good planning in that area. That's probably your best chance to just put your blueprint or your signature on the community is through that development and the visioning that could go in that. And I would encourage you to use that through a public process. But that's, I think that's all but I will leave you this document. You have references on all these projects. Call us, give us those numbers, and we can tell you more about those projects. So I think that took my 15 minutes or more. So if you have any questions,
Council, do you have any comments, questions for Harvey? Thanks, Harvey. Appreciate it. This is a lot of good information. This is what's happening in Santan Valley. So this is important for us to know. you know, what's coming and how to identify land use and everything like that. So thank you. Now we're going to turn the time over to Chris.
All right.
This guy's the nuts and bolts of what happens behind everything.
I guess so, yeah.
You
So,
know everything.
well, good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Chris Wanamaker, County Engineer. And today I wanted to talk about subdivisions and also some multifamily projects, which are not subdivisions, but they are residential and they add populations and they add to traffic. So thought it'd be helpful to talk about that too. I only have 10 slides, so hopefully this will be quick. So first, a little background on subdivisions. So under the county, we're regulated under Title III, and I know Harvey talked a little bit about the differences between Title 11, or I'm sorry, Title 11, differences between Title 11 and Title 9, so I won't get into that. We also have the subdivision code, which governs how the plat processes occurs, and also our subdivision and infrastructure design manual, which governs the engineering criteria for how a subdivision is to be laid out and constructed, so that we ensure that we have high quality roads that last, long into the future. So subdivision plating occurs after zoning and after entitlement. So this is where the engineering comes in that Harvey talked about earlier. So first what happens is they come in with a tentative plat, which is a preliminary or conceptual plat. And it kind of shows the layout of the subdivision, the layout of the roads in a little bit more detail than what you might see at the zoning level. So you're going to include some level of engineering because then they need to have a certain level of confidence to know that the subdivision layout will actually work, right? So we want to make sure we have set aside enough land for drainage, enough land for roadways and where those access points are. So once the tentative plat reaches a level of where we are confident about how it will work, we have to take it to our Planning and Zoning Commission for approval. Once that's approved, then we can go into final plat. And that's where the detailed engineering comes in. And that's where you actually get your improvement plans, like your paving plans, your grading plans, traffic signals, anything else that's needed to support that subdivision has to be designed and then approved. And then after that, after the plat is approved by the board, we go into permitting and construction. So we have a team of inspectors that go out and make sure that construction occurs in a high quality manner. We require testing of materials and of pavements and other types of things. And once construction is done, we accept it and it goes into a warranty period. Okay, so just some statistics here. I only went back a couple of years. So in 2023, we approved 27 plats countywide, 17 of which were in Santan Valley. In 2024, we actually had a record number of plats, 55, 40 of those being in Santan Valley. And so all the building you're seeing right now and all the construction that's finishing up, those are a result of those 2024 plat approvals. And then last year, we reduced down to about half, 24 countywide and 10 in Santan Valley. So some interesting things, the average plat size is about 107 lots. And historically, we used to see plats much larger. They're plotting 200, 300, 400 lots at a time. But the landscape has changed and the development community, they're plotting smaller and smaller subdivisions at a time. That's probably to minimize risk and to spread out their construction phasing over time. Another interesting fact is the average plat lays out 1 mile of new roadway. It's actually 0.98, but I just rounded it to 1. And it takes an average of 2 to 3 years to go from the start of a final plat process to actual completion of construction. That's 1 year in the plat review and then 1 to 2 years in construction. So this is an overall map. You have a physical copy there. So this kind of shows everything that's been going on in Santan Valley as far as subdivisions in warranty, subdivisions under construction, subdivision in final plat review, and also tentative plat review. And then of course I threw in some multifamily projects. So what you're seeing here overall on this map, 13,294 lots, quite a few. And then 1,430 multifamily units. So these next slides, I'll go in a little more detail. So here on this slide, these are all the subdivisions that are in the warranty period right now. That means that the roadways are done, the landscaping is in, they're still building homes, but the infrastructure is already done. So the county's already accepted those infrastructures into our maintenance system, unless they're private streets, which we do have quite a few private streets out here. And now they're just building homes. So the warranty period is 1 year, and we monitor for quality control issues. So if there's premature pavement failures, sidewalk lifting, or other issues, that developer has to come back and fix those things at their cost. So one thing to point out is there on your right, there's where 9 and 10 are, that's what we call Santan Gateway. You might know it as Waldera. So that's a recent community. And then up there, number 13, that's Ware Farms, which you might know it as Soleo. And the majority of Ware Farms is private streets. So we don't have to worry about maintaining those. Okay. So under construction, we have these. If we look right in the middle of Santan Valley, we have right north of this building we're in right now, that's Bella Vista Farms. So we've got 2 units there that are under construction. So Bella Vista Farms, interestingly enough, that's a 21 unit or 6-phase development. And so they have plans to build homes all the way out to 2035. So that development by itself is 5,149 units. So, but they've been building for quite a while. And like I said, they're going till 2035. Let's see here, just south of this facility here, where you see the number 18 there, that's Sherwood Park, 443 lots, units 1 through 3, under construction right now. So let's see here. Oops. Go back here. There's a delay on this thing here. Okay. Final plat. So we actually only have 3 final plats in for review right now in Santan Valley. And so 23 there, that's at Santan Gateway, the next unit of that. Of course, we have one in the Bella Vista Farms just north of here. But the next one that you're going to see is what we call Fulton Homes at Terra Linda. So we've got units 1 through 3, which is actually 4 phases because unit 1 is broken up into 2, 631 lots. They're probably going to be starting construction here in the next few weeks. So they're very close to final approval on all those documents, and you'll see some dirt moving here real soon. So that's just southeast of here. All right, tentative plats. So we do have a number of tentative plats in the process. Again, these are conceptual, more higher level review. So again, more future units of Bella Vista Farms to the north of here. But what your biggest one is going to be what we call right now Bella Vista 23. So that's the area there in the southeast of the community surrounding that Fulton Homes development. So that's broken up into 4 separate phases. And you're looking at more than 5,000 lots there as well for all 4 of those phases. So probably another couple of years before we see those under construction, because there's still a lot of work that needs to be done to get those tentative plats across the finish line. So let's see here. All right, so some multifamily, just want to be clear, these are not plats. They don't have to go through a platting process. It's actually a site plan review. This is a commercial development. It's administrative. So we're seeing a lot of multifamily projects on the north side there. We've got an Elux at Ocotillo, which is under construction right now, was approved a number of years ago. And then we have the Flats 480 there on Ironwood and El Parque Lane. And then just north of there, we have one called Summerwell, which is in review right now. The zoning's already been done, so it's going through engineering review. And then kind of in the middle of the town there, we've got the Bograda or the village at Santan, sorry, under construction, nearly complete. And then, of course, at Gansel and Bella Vista, we have 2 multifamily projects kind of in a quarter from each other. So the total number of units, I think I mentioned that before, 1,430 for all multifamily projects here. So that's really it. I just did a high level quick overview of all that. Are there any questions?
Any questions from the council?
As developers are responsible for some of the road improvements, but there's a cumulative effect as we, like, for example, you go down Schneff and around Skyline and down to Wildera. Those developments are building up but the roads are still 2 lanes and no lights. And so the other dilemma is congestion rather than just road improvements. Is there any consideration to pausing on some of that development approval until wider lanes and lights? Because what happens now is that traffic just builds up and builds up and builds up, and the congestion is out of control. So there's a bigger issue than just engineering the road. It's the longevity.
Yeah, it's a good question. So what you're talking about are regional impacts due to local development. And, the way that's handled is through impact fees. The developer comes in, they have to do a traffic impact analysis where they quantify their impacts on the area. And then they have to do infrastructure improvements to mitigate those impacts. But of course, the regional impacts, kind of hard to quantify because there's so many variables. So the impact fees come in, and that's what's used from our level as a county. We would use those impact fees to do those road improvements. As far as stopping or slowing development, I don't believe there's a way that we can do that. If you're talking about moratoriums or something, I don't believe there's something we can do. Maybe cities have, I don't know. There's something in the statute talking about that, but I'm not familiar.
Speed up traffic improvement.
Yeah, it's very challenging because, developing a roadway project can take, 3 years to go from an, initial concept to construction. You've got to go through the design process, and there's usually a number of stakeholders, in particular utilities. Utilities can be very challenging. There's just so many of them in our roadways, but yeah, getting ahead of development is very difficult because the impact fees are collected at the building permit issuance level. And then they have to accumulate before we can then use that money to actually build something.
That's the number one complaint I get from cities.
Sure.
Is that, and then it feels like what we're doing is prioritizing the developers over our citizens.
No, I totally understand. And I can tell you though, through our review process, we really do spend a lot of time scrutinizing these projects and making sure that they are contributing as much as we can require them to, as far as what their half-street improvements are, their internal improvements, contributions to traffic signals. And traffic signals is a whole other discussion because, oftentimes a traffic signal may not be warranted by one development alone, but collectively by, say, 4 developments on a corner, it's going to be warranted. So then who pays for it, right? That becomes a quandary, which developer is going to pay for it. And so we try to negotiate these things as early as possible and zoning stage if possible. But we often get contributions, and we use impact fees to supplement it to get it in earlier. So it's always it's kind of a game,
And typically, isn't the roadways typically improved before the development is done? Typically, or not?
Well, so the roadways internal to the development.
The improvement, the half street.
Yeah. So they have to finish those before we'll accept the project is complete. So one thing I didn't talk about as far as subdivisions go, there's a financial assurance component to the plat process. So before the board will approve a plat to subdivide the land, we have to have a financial assurance in place to make sure that developer build that required infrastructure. Typically, it's a bond. So they have to put up a bond, which, has a financial component to it that the developer has to pay to keep that bond in place. And that bond will not be released until all infrastructure that is required is complete. So that's part of our process.
Okay.
Is there a threshold that, I guess we get to a certain point where we know that Hunt Highway, Gary, and Gansel cannot take additional, there's too many people on those roads. Is there a threshold that we tell builders that no, you can't build until we have regional improvements like a Pinal Parkway. Is there anything that they say, no more building because we're overloading these streets?
Yeah, that's a really tough question. And I don't think there's anything that we can strictly prevent development from occurring, but what we can do as part of the traffic impact analysis is we look at roadway capacity and what we call level of service. So when we have a roadway, there's a certain capacity that's acceptable, and above that, you get increased congestion. And so when we have projects that come in that reduce the roadway's level of service beyond what is acceptable, we do require them to provide some sort of mitigation, which could be signal retiming, it could be adding additional lanes, it could be providing alternative access. There's a number of things that are looked at. But as far as outright saying no more development, that's kind of I don't think we can really do that.
Moratorium can.
Yeah, yeah.
On these multifamily projects, do you draw a distinction between rentals and actual owned condominiums and townhomes, or are the majority of these projects all rentals?
These are all rentals that we're talking about here.
Is there a separate process governing that, or has that even ever come up?
No, so when we talk about build to rent, so they're not subdividing the land, so there's no plat, then it just goes through the site plan commercial review process. And so that's the two differences. So it's actually faster typically because they don't have to put up financial assurances. They don't have to subdivide the land and record a bunch of documents to do that. So it is different.
And the water.
And the water is.
Forget about the water. So, and the townhomes that we're seeing, and those are typically leased too. They're not townhomes for sale.
Right.
They're typically leased. So that adds to the multi-housing product. Okay. Any other comments? Any questions for Chris? Okay, Chris, thank you for being here. Appreciate the county, Harvey, Sangeeta. Thank you. Good information. Okay, we've been going for over 2 hours. Can we take a 10-minute quick break? Would that be the pleasure of the council?
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna recess for 10 minutes.
Okay, we're gonna see where she's at.
Hey, I'm gonna get us out of recess. We're gonna get back to our agenda item. We're gonna go to 7B. This is a discussion of possible action to approve a professional service agreement with Michael Baker International, Inc. to provide professional planning and consulting services for the preparation and adoption of the town inaugural zoning ordinance, including ordinance drafting, zoning map development, public outreach, and technical support for formal adoption. Okay, Brent, you're taking it away.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. It's with great pleasure that we bring before you this evening Matt Kleisico with Michael Baker International. They're a consulting firm that specializes in engineering and planning services. Ellen and I have been working hard with Michael Baker to set a scope, fee, and schedule, understanding the importance of our zoning code, and we felt that we needed to start as soon as possible to make sure that we're in a good position for when we take over services. So with that, I'll turn it over to Matt.
Oh, wait. Thank you, Brent. Thank you, Mayor, Council. It's great to be in front of you this evening to talk about the town's first zoning ordinance. I do lead Michael Baker's planning department here in Arizona. Our office is located in downtown Phoenix. A little background. I've been practicing planning for 25 years now. 22 of those years have been with Michael Baker. Michael Baker, as Brent noted, we are a multidisciplinary firm. So in addition to planning, we provide other services, including architecture, engineering, and survey. But in my role as planning director, our department focuses on assisting public sector clients with their planning needs. And we like to emphasize that because we do not assist the private community with their development plans. You will not see our firm at this podium talking about private development. We're only assisting our public sector clients. And in that capacity, we do general plans, long-range plans, as Harvey and Pinell County were discussing. We also, of course, prepare zoning ordinances for communities across Arizona. And so the nexus here is that we've had the privilege of being an on-call planner for Pinell County for the number of years. And in that role, we've assisted the county with many efforts. The most prevalent one, which is the reason that I think I'm standing here, is we assisted with and prepared the Santan Valley Special Area Plan. I was the project manager for that effort. And so I was very happy to be able to learn more about the community when we went through that process. And so that gives us, I think, a very firm foundation of understanding Santan Valley, but also we assist other communities across the county as well as the state. So we are assisting Queen Creek with their general plan update currently. We've assisted the city of Eloy in the development of their zoning code or an update of their zoning code. And we most recently assisted Maricopa County with the update of their zoning code. So we do this frequently, we do this consistently, and I think that's all relevant because for the needs of Santan Valley, we need to pull together a zoning code so that you can use this to guide growth and development that we've all discussed. And we need that rapidly. And what we heard this evening is the nuances between a zoning code or a development process in the county versus a municipality. And so what frequently happens when a town is incorporated is they will accept or take the county zoning ordinance and just rephrase that into the municipality zoning ordinance. But I will commend your staff of 5, I think it is, 2 for now, your staff of 2 for having the foresight to say that's not necessarily going to give us what we need. We heard the county mention that they have quite a number of zoning districts. So that's, one example of where getting into developing a zoning code that can be specific to the town is the best course forward, because you can then be in a position to build on that as you move forward and not try to have to slip things or mold things to align with a process that was really developed for a county rather than a municipality. And so what we've developed with the assistance of staff is a scope and fee and schedule to move quickly. And what we're doing here is a unique process where we'll go out and utilize some host zoning ordinances through evaluation of other communities across Pinell and Maricopa County, and identifying regulations that will best align with the needs of Santan Valley. And that will be merged into a unified zoning code that will be more streamlined for the town versus a county regulations that are robust. And then that will give you the foundation that moving forward, you can build on that and add more regulation to your zoning ordinance as you need it. And so that's really what's before you this evening in terms of our outline for this scope, is a unique process that we're looking to really be surgical, as I like to say. And so we're going to be moving fast. Typically, a zoning ordinance will take 12 months to 24 months to complete. You can go even longer than that with zoning ordinances, and some in this audience can attest to that. We're trying to get this done by June. So we're going to be working this schedule. We're going to have to take some content and be and accept that for our immediate needs, and recognize that we can then come back and revise the zoning ordinance when we have more time to be diligent and have conversation. But between now and June, we have public involvement incorporated into this process. And of course, we have work sessions with the town council, as well as your new planning commission. And so all of those components, the council, your planning commission, and then the public will all have a seat at the table in this effort. And then the goal will be to have a zoning code in place that can be used in the near term, and something that can then be built on as the community evolves and identifies more needs that come about as you bring more resources online. So with that, I don't have a detailed presentation this evening. Yes, Brent.
The long and short of it, we sat down and started discussions, and I said, I have a few expectations. The draft Pinal County zoning ordinance, they've been working on it since 2015. It's 460 pages. I told Matt, I want a zoning ordinance delivered less than 100 pages. I want it to be an E-code, which modern, can be accessed off of your phone. You don't have to have a big book and read through it. It's intended to be less text intensive. Sorry, it's late. More pictures and tables, 21st century code, an electronic code, and delivered as close to July 1st as we possibly can. I think most consultants would have laughed at me, but we've come up with a plan to deliver that.
Yeah, I think that's a big undertaking. I think it's going to be amazing if we can get that done by the time frame that we have set before us. Would you say that we might have some work sessions we'll have to probably schedule outside of our meetings? So council, get ready. Be ready for some work sessions to go through all this, because you want to go through it in pieces, right? You don't want to be inundated all at once.
And excellent point, Mayor. Thank you for that. In the scope, we outline what we call modules. They're basically phases, but we'll take the zoning code down in bite-sized pieces. And as you can imagine, we take certain sections forward first because those are most critical, and then everything plays off of that. But our first effort when we do go out to the public will be a little bit of zoning 101. And to get them aware of some of the things that you heard this evening, and make sure that we're all working from the same sheet of music. And from there, it's full speed ahead. So.
Does anyone have any comments or questions for Matt or anything at all?
Mayor, I do.
We don't want to put the cart before the horse. We need to move and do a little bit of necessary item work here, but appreciate you, Matt.
Mayor, I have a comment.
Been familiar with Michael Baker for a long time, and Matt, working with Pinal County and the planning and zoning, and they do fantastic work. Matt will go into as much detail and depth that we want him to when he presents to us, if we do approve Michael Baker to be the consultant. So, okay, well,
I believe the vice mayor who's online has something to say, but I don't believe he's connecting. He texted me.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Speak up.
Oh, great. Thank you, Brent, for pointing out the need for having this kind of streamlined for the business friendly aspect, the community aspect. I think that's really important, and I appreciate you doing some of that work ahead of time and the flexibility on the consultant to work with that. I did notice in the statement of work here, there's a few community meetings, I believe 4 of them. And because we're doing an accelerated timeline to get this done by June, what considerations are you making with some of those community meetings to make sure the residents know about it? Just knowing that we're going to be moving at a rapid pace, and that the town is in an infancy when it comes to its communications and getting the public involved. I think it's really important to have that. Is there other considerations you're making given the crunch timeline and some of those other factors?
Good question.
Yeah. Would you like to?
Yeah, I can speak to that, man. Thank you, Vice Mayor, for those comments. And you're absolutely right. We have been working with staff to develop a initial schedule. And so as I looked at it here, we're going to be starting with community workshops next month. And so in terms of getting the word out, that's where we're going to start working with staff and any council members to help us do that. So it's typically we use channels such as getting out to HOAs and making sure that they're aware of this. The fact that we are going quick on this will be helpful because we're going to have to schedule these meetings in advance. So we'll put literally a schedule out there of meetings. It won't be, oh, stay tuned to find out when the next meeting is. We're going to have these all scheduled out for the next 4 months. And so we'll be able first meeting to say, this is when we're having meeting 1, 2, 3, and 4. So hopefully that will be continuity that we can build on, that from each meeting you can share it with your friends and neighbors, and that will be some consistency there. But we'll have to start looking at all of those channels, our periodicals, and our schools, to get the word out, to make sure that residents participate. So the vice mayor kind of zeroed in on effort number 1 is starting to get the word out, because we'll already be doing our analysis of zoning code needs in tandem with that effort to publicize the project overall. So if there is any other resources that might be unique that anyone on council has utilized, please share that with us. We would be excited to incorporate that into our process.
And then for the council, so they know that, oh, sorry, Vice Mayor, go ahead.
I was just going to say, great, I really appreciate that. I just think this is a really important topic the community really cares about, and I want to make sure we give them ample opportunity, you know, and given the crunch timeline, to be engaged. And it's really a desire of myself, at least, I don't want to speak for the council, but I believe we would all agree on this, is to bring the public along through the process as we're engaging with some of these things. So I appreciate it.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. What I was going to say is he's referring, his question is reference to, and what Matt was describing is in the scope of work that is in our packets. So we have that information before us. And it was that I heard that the first meeting would be scheduled for next month. Is that what I heard? If we go forward with this?
That's correct. Right now, we're looking at our first community workshop in March, and then they would be every month.
Every month.
From there.
We don't have much time. It'd have to be every month in order to get these.
Exactly.
Okay. Sounds good. There's a lot of work to be done and to be had. And I think it's going to be great when we get to the finish line with all
And
this
for
hard
a
work.
very reasonable price, might I add.
I was going to touch on that we are, this is not a half bad price for this type of work and for this scope of time frame that it's going to be done in. So, okay, if there's no other comments from the council, we will move on to a motion. Or not.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the professional services agreement with Michael Baker International, Inc. We provide planning and zoning services for the town zoning ordinance as outlined in the agreement.
Sorry.
Okay, we have a motion. And now you do the second? Now you second. Thank you. So we have a council, we have a motion, we have a second to approve Michael Baker as the to provide the planning and zoning services for the town's zoning ordinance. Those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Sounds like the ayes have it. So the motion carries. Welcome to the team.
Thank you.
We appreciate it, and we look to have you do hit the ground tomorrow or tonight.
Oh, you get sick of me.
Okay. Thank you, Matt. Okay. This is going to move us now to item number E. This is a discussion and possible action to approve an employee cost agreement with ESI for the provision of IT director services to the town, under which Robert Stanley will serve as the IT director effective March 9th 2026. Okay.
All right, Mayor, council members, we have in the agenda packet tonight, the employee cost agreement for your consideration with ESI, right? The contractor that's providing these services while we're getting our systems in place to bring on full-time employees. But those details are in your packet, and both Brent and I are excited to grow the team. So I'll turn it over to Brent to introduce Robert.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, this is the position that we had the most applications for. We have really been blessed with the quality and quantity of applicants for all of these key positions for the town. But this was the clear favorite amongst applicants, and we had some highly qualified individuals in this IT director role. Held a number of interviews, wonderful candidates. So you should take great pride, Robert, that you were the selection from the panel. Robert, I think, will constitute, did we decide earlier, the fourth employee? Number four. So I would like you to join me in welcoming Robert to the team.
And thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. This is not new territory for me. I was in this building as it was being built. I was the former CIO of Pinal County, Arizona. So I have a great familiarity with everybody in this environment and most of the team already. The opposite side of the fence, talking to Pinal County as we start handing out services. Jason Cantrell was my deputy when I was the CIO of Pinal County. So we're gonna have a great working relationship. Let's see if James Daniels is still awake on that call over there, because we worked together for quite some time as well. Just really excited to come on board. I bring a wealth of experience, several years in IT, several decades in IT at this point. I think everywhere from small mom and pop shops, being the only IT person, to currently at Arizona State University, the largest university in the United States, supporting 30,000 faculty and 180,000 students. So scale is not a problem, small is not a problem. So I'm very excited to be here and provide that expertise to Santan Valley, the place where I live.
Robert, we are going to put you to the first task to get us a mic system better in here, so that we can have a better mic up there, and all of us can have a mic and a monitor. And wait, we don't have any money yet for that. We got to get a budget first. So we're working on it. But
indeed, thank you very much. I do appreciate it.
Thank you. Welcome. What?
Yeah.
Do we want to do it now? Yeah, we'll do it now, and then we'll do the other one. Then we could do a group.
Okay.
How about we do that?
How do you like to do it, sir?
Was it a pleasure to do a picture single, or have our next ESI contract and do them together? Let's do this. I'm going to make an executive decision here. I'm going to say, let's do an individual, and then we'll do a group after the second one. Let's do that.
Anyway, I know that the photo has been taken, but technically we haven't made the motion to.
This is why every municipality has a legal department, to keep us in line.
That's the one that.
Or Garrett, well, clerk too. Okay, so we'll pretend the photo was taken after. For item number 7E, we do need to make a motion on that. So is there a motion on the table? Is there any discussion first? Okay, is there a motion?
Mayor, I move to approve the employee cost agreement with ESI for the provision of IT director services to the town, under which Robert Stanley will serve as IT director effective March 9th, 2026.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second. I think Gia made that second. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Welcome to the team. Now pretend the picture was taken right now. Okay. Okay, this takes us to item number 7F. This is a discussion and possible action to approve an employee cost agreement with ESI for the provision of HR director services to the town, under which Janet Dare will serve as the HR director effective March 9th, 2026. Brent, Alan?
I've got the same spiel here. We've got an ESI contract before you. We've been doing a lot of HR work, Brent and I, so we are very excited to put on an HR director. And I know Janet was something of a rising star in Avondale and has done some great work, and we're excited to have her join the team, but I'll let Brent do the full introduction.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, employee number 5. This is Janet. I will say, as part of the recruitment for HR, we had a lot of really good applicants. It came down to 2 super strong applicants and a tough deliberation amongst the panel. But we're really excited, and I think that you'll really enjoy this young lady. Janet?
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor online, and council members. I am so excited to be here. Thank you for the opportunity, and I'm excited to get started. I can't wait to take on all the HR duties from these 2 hardworking gentlemen. So just thank you again for the opportunity.
Well, thank you, Janet. I guess, note to everyone, behave. We have an HR director here. So, well, after we conduct some business first, is there any deliberation or questions, comments from the council on item 7F?
I just want to mention, again, just the history of this moment. Our very first IT director, Robert Stanley, for the town of Santan Valley, and our very first HR director for the town of Santan Valley, Janet Dare. So just revel in that moment. You are part of the history of our town as the first, not 4 and 5, but the first.
Not
in
until
your
you have
role.
a motion.
Thank you, council member Wolfer. We do agree with what you have to say after we make a motion. That is discussion. You're right. This was discussion. Hey, we got to have some fun here, guys. Come on. Okay, any other comments? Anything from the vice mayor?
No, Mayor.
Okay. With that, do we have a motion to do 7F to have an ESI agreement with Janet Dare as the HR director for the town of Santan Valley?
So I move to approve the employee cost agreement with ESI for the position of HR director services for the town under which Janet Dare will serve as a HR director effective March 9th, 2026.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I second.
We have a motion and a second for the ESI cost agreement with ESI for the HR director services to the town, under which Janet Dare will serve as the HR director effective March 9th, 2026. I just want to make sure that we get that on the record, that that's what we're voting for. All in favor, indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope. That carries the motion. Welcome, Janet, to the team. Let's now get your photo taken. Okay. With that, that takes us to item number 8, request for future agenda items. Members of the town council may request that items be placed on the future agenda. There will be no discussion or action taken at this time, other than identifying the topics for future consideration. So with that, is there any future agenda item that we would like the council would like to request?
Mr. Mayor, can we put on the agenda at some future agenda items discussion on America 250? If the town would like to set up potentially a committee to explore the town's observance of that later this year.
Okay, I see them writing that down, so.
I'd also like to add a discussion with the group homes in the area. I'd like to be able to go that in deeper capacity with sheriff, give more information and options.
Okay, we got 2. Is there any from over here? Any items?
I don't know if it's an item, but I know the zoning, we had the first zoning meeting. And is there, we ever get a kind of report? I know it was just a training, but in the future, we get a little report on those meetings here. Okay, great. Thank you.
If anything, I would assume that would be in a manager's report on what's happened, maybe potentially. Something to think about. Okay. Anything else? Vice Mayor?
No, Mayor.
Okay. With that, we'll go to item number 9. This is citizens desiring to speak on any issue within the jurisdiction of the town may do so at this time. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes, subject to adjustment based on time constraints and meeting management needs at the discretion of the mayor. All comments shall be addressed to the council as a whole. At the conclusion, the call to the public, the individual council members may respond to criticism made by those who have spoken, direct staff to review or follow up on the matter, and or number 3, request the matter to be placed on a future agenda item. With that, I have 1 speaker card, but I'm pretty sure we'll have more than 1 that wants to speak. But Jeannie Stockton, if you will please come forward and state that you do live within the town boundary.
Hello, my name is Jeannie Stockton. I do live in the town boundaries in Johnson Ranch, and I think I'm moving soon. After the report from the sheriff and you know, I'm out of there. I have a couple questions. Are the packets that are provided to the town council members, are they available to the public at all? And if so, will they be posted on a website or something? The other thing I'd like to talk about, I think you touched on it briefly, Councilman, the group homes. Since we're establishing our ordinances, I think we probably need to look real close at the ordinances surrounding group homes. The thing that's concerning to me is that they're housing, they're populating those homes and they haven't been approved. So do we write some ordinance in there that says before you can start housing members, it has to be approved? Let's see what else. Oh, and on the next page, sorry, you guys, I was scribbling all night. When you do build like a Terrible's, which is a good gas station, when you do a Circle K or a Terrible's or stuff, building like that, is there an ordinance that says you cannot build houses within X number of feet, or you have to have so much green space and things of that nature? I just wanted to bring that up because if that's not a county ordinance, should it be a town ordinance? And the last thing I want to say, and I'm not saying this to be disrespectful to anyone, because when you guys break, I know there's people in the community that want to ask you questions, but could we just ask that anybody wants to do any signature collecting or any campaigning, that they do it outside of this office space, you know, so that you guys are available to talk to the people about things they're concerned about instead of campaigning. That's all. And after saying that, I'll turn this over to the next person.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jeannie. Okay, is there anyone in the audience? Please come forward. State your name, state if you do live within the town boundary or not.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Town Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Kenneth Diamond. I live in Santan Valley. I live in Pecan Creek South. Been in the town about 10 years now, and this is my home. I would like to just say on the group homes, my office is delving deep into those group homes over the last couple of years to make sure that they are following the fire codes. There's specific fire codes that they have to follow depending on the number of residents they have. But one thing I would like to see Santan Valley is to permit each step of those group homes. Right now, Pinal County doesn't permit an R3, which is 1 to 5 residents. And those are allowed to be as close to each other. There's no limit to where they can be. An R4 has to be within 400 yards of another R4. They can't be right next to each other. Now, an R4 is 6 to 10 residents. But with an R4, there are things that they have to do: fire sprinklers, fire alarms, exit lights, exit signs, fire extinguishers. We expect all of those in the R4 that they follow the fire codes that are published by the state of Arizona. I also represent the state fire marshal's office in those. And so we just make sure that they're done. So I would like to be involved in the ordinances that come with the R3s and R4s, my office, with my inspectors, to be able to help you with anything that you might need on those. And anything I can help. I would also like to offer to be your volunteer chaplain for the city. I know I spoke to Brent a little bit about it. I'm the fire department chaplain also, but I'd love to be a volunteer chaplain for you and anything that you might need. And with that, I want to thank you for your time and have a great night.
Thank you. We appreciate that. Is there anyone else in the audience? Please come forward, state your name, and if you do live within this town boundary or not.
Good evening, Mayor and council members and Vice Mayor that's on the phone. My name is Donna Holman. I do live in Santan Valley. I wanted to ask if there's a possibility that on the future agendas that we could include who the representative or who the guest speaker is that is in attendance on the agenda so that we can follow along. The other thing I would like to bring up is I have offered to volunteer sometime well, now that we have 4 staff members, maybe they don't need me, but I did offer Brent yesterday when I was at the IPAC meeting, to help volunteer, staple papers, 3-hole punch, whatever. I know they're extremely overworked, and with no money in the budget, there's not a lot of supplies. I did donate a lot of office supplies. I'm not bragging. I would like to ask that maybe we could consider putting a call out when we say, we need committee members to there's a lot of people that Brett could possibly use, that could just either answer a phone if we had a phone, and anything else that would help lessen the burden. I volunteer at least 30 to 40 hours a week for my HOA and have for the last 12 years. There are lots of people that will donate 10 hours, 20 hours. They do it for the pound. They do it for any cause. And there are a lot of people that want to see this town move forward. That's all I have. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, is there anyone else in the audience? Please come forward, state your name and that you live in the boundary or not.
Hi, my name is Karen, and yes, I live in the boundaries of Santan Valley. I just wanted to say it was a very great meeting, very informative. I'm sure some of your brains are just fried with all the information. Great selection with Michael Baker International. I worked with him on the zoning code for Pinal County. It's amazing. Just have a couple questions. I know you can't answer, but I'll get an answer after. Are all the presentations going to be put up on the website that were given earlier? The sheriff and the attorney both offer to email individuals privately, so I just wanted to make sure they would be up there. At the IPAC meeting yesterday, as Donna had indicated, I noticed, and it was kind of brought to our attention, packets were just kind of piled in front of each other, and knowing Brent for the time I've known him, that's not his nature. He's very organized. There were no paper clips to hold anything together, no hole punches to put stuff together. I too offered, as Donna did, to help if it takes coming down here to put certain things together. I know you all are struggling. I volunteer a lot as well as many other people do, but this is our town and I want to be able to help. So I would just love to be able to do that. And if anything is needed, supplies or whatnot, I agree. Put that out there. People would be happy to help get this off the ground. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Karen. Okay, is there anyone else in the audience that would like to come forward? Anyone at all? Okay, seeing and hearing none, I'm going to close the call to open public. And that is going to move us to item number 10. This is an executive session. The town council may vote to convene into an executive session for the following items. Item number A, discussion and consultation with town attorney regarding a potential amendment to the intergovernmental agreement for financial assistance pursuant to ARS 38-431.03 A3 and 4. And item number B, discussion and consultation with the town attorney regarding contractual and legal matters related to participation in the Arizona State Retirement System and a potential Section 218 Social Security Agreement pursuant to ARS 38-431.03 A3 and 4. With that, is there a motion to go into executive session?
Mr. Mayor, I move to convene an executive session.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I second, Mr. Mayor.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are in executive session.